Conservation Board meeting started. Welcome, Thursday, November 21st, 2024. Already end of the year. So thank you, everybody. I think we've got we're online as well. Okay, great. I'm hearing an echo.
I think online we have it coming through the machine. Can you guys mute it? Did that work? Nope. Chuck's gonna go fix it. No, he's not.
Did that?
It worked. Okay.
It worked?
I turned the heat up.
Okay, great. All right, Mary, why don't you get us started with roll call this morning?
Chair Boakday,
Here.
Vice Chair Bonham.
Here.
Member Peralt. Member Nagami,
Here.
Member Pavle,
Here.
Member Phillips,
Here.
Member Murray.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Wonderful, thank you. So the next item is approval of our agenda. So Jen, I understand there's a couple of changes for the board.
Yes, so Catherine requested that we remove item 20 from consent, so there'll be a short presentation on that. And we are taking item 28 off. So that will not be presented today.
Great, thank you. Are there any other changes from the board on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion?
So move.
Second. Great. Can you take the roll call, please, to approve the agenda as amended?
Chair Boakday,
Aye.
Vice Chair Bonham.
Aye.
Member Peralt. Member Nagami,
Aye.
Member Pavle,
Aye.
Member Phillips,
Aye.
Member Murray.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Great, thank you. So now we'll move on to our executive director's report.
Well, first of all, thanks everyone for being here. It's another great meeting in front of us. My report is going to focus on what we've all been doing since we saw you last. Our team has been extraordinarily busy. We put on 5 in-person workshops on our strategic plan. We're putting together our next version of our strategic plan for 2025 to 2030. We had over 130 people attend our workshops, which was pretty good. I've done some workshops where literally no one comes, so it was great, including Alina and Damon who came. Thank you both. We've also been conducting one-on-one tribal consultations, as well as we've had one tribal listening session. We're going to have 1 or 2 more. And we have an online survey for folks that weren't able to meet the workshops. That's at that website on the screen. It's also very easy to find if you just go to wcb.ca.gov. So that will be open till the 15th of December. So just getting feedback from folks on how we should prioritize our work moving forward. Of course, how our funding comes in is part of that mix as well. But, you know, just what kind of work should we be doing moving forward? Before we go to that, I just wanted to share a schedule moving forward for the board's awareness and for everyone's. The hope is that we will have a draft plan available for review in Q1 of next year. My plan is to share it first with the board for a 2-week look. It's not going to be super long, won't be 100 pages, hoping for around 30, and mostly bullets. So hoping to get your feedback for about 2 weeks before we put it out for public comment, which we will then reinitiate an opportunity to speak with tribes as well. So we'll keep that open for about 60 days with the hope that we get a final plan by summer of next year. And of course, we're delayed a little bit because of travel. We really wanted to do these in-person workshops and we had a travel freeze. So we're 6 months behind, but I think we're in good shape. And the next slide shares why I think the timing is actually kind of perfect. So as most of you know, Proposition 4 did pass in November. And WCB was identified for a lot of funding in that proposition, $1.02 billion, which of course is over many, many years. And I want to highlight that any takedown of the bond is subject to the budget process which we're about to enter into for this spring. So this $1 billion it's out there, but it's not in our bank account until we go through that process. So we'll see over the spring how that unfolds. But just at a high level, there are some smaller buckets, but the big buckets are $668 million for biodiversity and nature-based solutions. This is sort of our core work across all of our programs. $100 million for habitat connectivity, our corridors, with a focus on $80 million for San Andreas corridor program. So that's $180 million for wildlife crossings and corridors, which is great. Another $100 million for stream flow and another $50 million for fishery enhancement and reintroduction of fish above dams. So that is a lot of great opportunity for all of us moving forward. We're very excited. I will note that the language of the proposition says that 40% of that funding must be spent on vulnerable and disadvantaged communities, with 10% of that to severely disadvantaged communities. And, you know, we as a board have been struggling with all of these definitions and what all of that means. We're looking to the Resources Agency, CNRA, to get guidance on how best to define that moving forward, but we'll probably have to update at least our scoring sheets before we can put this into effect. So that's all to say, we think it's very consistent with how our programs are administered now, but there's still just little tweaks we have to make sure we're aligned with the funding that we would get through this bond. Okay, lastly, if you're following us closely, and if you're an applicant, I know, if you're a partner, I know you are, but just so everyone's aware, we had our application portal closed for a while when the budget situation was uncertain. We did recently reopen it for restoration and public access projects only. We are still moving through the backlog of requests for acquisition funding. And so we are not accepting any applications for acquisition projects at this time. If you want to be the first to know when that changes, please make sure you sign up for our email listserv. We don't send a whole lot of emails, but that's the fastest way to know. Otherwise, it's also posted on our website regularly. And with that, I'm happy to take questions, or that's the end of my report.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
On the application portal. So if somebody got their application, because I've had a question about this from
Okay.
somebody, if they got their application in before it was closed, they should have heard from.
So there was we have two stages of our application process, right? There's a pre-application and then a full application.
Oh, okay.
And what we vet the pre-apps, and then we would go back to folks and say, we'd like a full app. So there were a bunch of projects that were in the pre-app stage when we closed the door.
Right.
Those just kind of got put on hold. And that's the backlog we're currently working through.
Okay. Okay.
Is any projects that we were already trying to fund, and then those we're requesting full apps from. So you should be hearing if we want a full app soon.
Yeah.
And probably also if we aren't going to be able to move forward with this project in the near term, you'll be hearing that as well. And John Walsh is leading that up for us.
And can you move back to the slide that had
Top
the,
four,
no, before that.
one more, workshops.
Yeah, workshops. So they're all done now, all the public ones. Okay. And then will you have any more virtual ones, or are those done too?
So we're not going to have any more workshops, but that online form is essentially what was the workshop, just
see.
in a online form. So we had
Okay.
stations where people could engage with our different goals, climate change, biodiversity, access, and some key questions. And so the online form essentially reproduces that. You just don't get the fun of hanging out with us or the candy, but you get everything else.
So people that weren't able to go to
Yep.
the workshops, they can still participate
Correct.
until when online?
December 15th, we're going
December
to close that.
15th.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good question. Director Norris, could you send us,
Can you move your microphone closer to your,
yes,
there you go.
would you send to members the proposition for slide?
Send it to you?
Yeah.
Sure. And this will also be available on our website, but I'm happy to share
Okay.
that with you.
Thank
Yep,
you.
no problem.
Any additional questions, comments for our executive director? Exciting times. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 4, board member updates, reports, items for future discussion. Is there anything from the board? Catherine?
Yeah, I was wondering if we could get a report back from staff at the next meeting about what we can do to, and I don't know if transparency is the right word or access, but what we can do or what the board can do, or, you know, Wildlife Conservation Board can do overall, or what the hindrances are, and I know there are some, to making things like letters, et cetera, more available sooner, and making the full board package more available to the public sooner, that kind of stuff. And I know that, you know, we've talked about this offline, that there are other agencies that do it differently. I know we have some constraints because some of the requirements for access and disability access, but I'm wondering if if the staff could take a hard look at what can be done to improve all of that.
Yeah, I
Okay.
can do that.
Yeah, so no, I think you'll take it back. Okay, any other? All right, I think the board knows, but just for the board and the public, this is my last Wildlife Conservation Board meeting. So I just wanted to just take a moment to thank the board for all of your incredible support and your trust in me to be chair for the last almost 3 years. It's been an honor and privilege to serve on the board with all of you, and you know, just very excited about the direction of the Wildlife Conservation Board, and as being one of the first public members to join the expanded board. It was a privilege for me to join the board and serve, you know, in this capacity to really see some great projects move forward. I've been on the board almost 7 years and had the privilege of supporting a lot of wonderful projects. I want to thank our executive director and the staff for just all your support. I know there's a lot of work that happens kind of behind the scenes to get the projects ready. And I know a lot of conversations with organizations and applicants. And so just thank you for the work that you do. And finally, thank you to the public and our partners who take time out of their day to come and let us know what projects are important, what issues we need to be thinking about. And so your voice matters. I just want to continue to raise up that this is a public forum to be able to come and share, you know, your opinions and thoughts about the projects. And, you know, as Prop 4 voted in by the voters of California, I, you know, will continue to stay engaged with the WCB, but really hope that the work around equity continues to advance so that nature, wildlife, habitat, biodiversity is available and accessible to all communities and all corners of this great state of California. So thank you for a moment to just kind of share my gratitude. So look forward to a great meeting today.
You're not gonna get off that easy, Chair. I mean, I would just say from the heart, thank you for making such a difference for the board, for our communities that engage with us, which means conservation benefits in the state of California. I've been doing this long enough to remember when this board was just 3 members at a voting level. by statute, the director of the Department of Fish and Wildlife, the president of the Fish and Game Commission, and the director of the Department of Finance. So in the 7 years you've been on the board, we've gone from that to now public members. We've gone through a transition of executive director. We've done 2 strategic plans. What we're doing now, 7 years later, is so much better and different on equity, inclusion, tribal relationships. And I've lost count, but we've easily granted over several $billion in your 7-year tenure. So awesome job. Congratulations.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much. Yeah,
I had just one minor comment, historical footnote. You would be the first public member ever to serve as chair of the Wildlife Conservation Board. And maybe the first female member too. I'm just wondering about the twosome, but anyway, historically, that could be one of those
yeah.
fact.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's good. Add that. to your resume.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Please keep in touch. I'd like to see your, that landfill project when it's appropriate time to do so.
Absolutely. Very excited for that. Great, thank you. All right, so with that, I will ask our executive director to provide a funding status update.
Yeah, so in your packets is the status of our different funds. I will share that we counted up actually how many individual cost accounts we track at WCB, and it is 76. So I just want to put that out there. It's a lot. And so these sort of roll up into the different enactment years in different buckets, but underneath each one of these, there's a lot of other accounts. So that said, we do have a fair amount of funding still on the books, although we are working through it, really focused on getting that general fund money spent, but also waiting to see how the spring budget process unfolds. So, and you'll see too, today's agenda is a little bit smaller than the last few, and that reflects in part us being on hold through a lot of the summer and really trying to, for lack of a better word, game out, how much money we have left and making sure we have adequate funds to keep projects in the pipeline and not overwhelm our staff who are, I would argue, overwhelmed. And I just want to apologize to make them do those workshops because that was crazy to push that between 2 board meetings to do 5 meetings together, but they did it. But we're just moving expeditiously through these pots. So if there's questions, I'm happy to take them.
I had one question just for purpose of clarification on 2 of the funding status programs. On the general fund, the $48 million projected unaccounted balance, is that go straight back into the budget if it's unallocated? Would that be your?
I think any general fund money is potentially available to be a budget solution through the spring process, but at this point, we are considering
Right.
it.
And we won't tell.
We won't know till July. Yeah.
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 And let me ask that same question a little bit differently on the greenhouse gas reduction fund. That's projected $123 million. That is a separate funding source under cap and trade revenue. But for the purpose of expenditures, it is general fund.
Correct. It's still
So,
general fund.
So the 123 plus 48 are subject to potential
Correct.
loss because it is a general fund appropriation. All right, thank you.
Yep. Did everybody hear that? No, it's hard to hear.
You maybe summarize?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Member Pavley was just asking if the general fund and the greenhouse gas reduction fund monies, they're subject to the budget process as well. I mean, they're allocated to WCB at the moment, but whenever there's a shortfall, they certainly become part of the solution set that may be considered. So we're working to spend them as soon as we can.
Okay, seeing no other comments, questions, we'll move on to project updates. I understand we have a couple of those.
Yeah, so we have two just updates for the board on projects already approved, just to share with you some of our good progress. So we're going to start with an update on the Parks Creek Flow Enhancement and Fish Passage Project in Siskiyou County. And Asil Donna, on behalf of Caltrout, is here to present. Oh, I think she's online, and I hope I didn't
I'm-
mispronounce your name. You can
No,
correct me if I'm wrong.
That was perfect. Thank you. I'm
good.
here. I'm here via Zoom. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you great. Thank you.
Okay. Well, so I'm up in Siskiyou County and we're getting this big storm. So hopefully my internet will participate today. But good morning, Wildlife Conservation Board. I'm Asil Donna of Aquaterra Consulting, representing California Trout, to give you a post-project update on the Parks Creek Flow Enhancement Project. So as a reminder, WCB awarded Caltrout 3.8 million from the Water Quality Supply and Infrastructure Improvement Fund of 2014. We applied for the grant in 2019 and we were awarded in 2020. So thank you for having me back so I can report the project successes to the board. So next slide, please. So just to give you a little geographical context, the project is located in central Siskiyou County on Parks Creek, which is an important tributary of the Shasta River. Parks Creek is a valuable habitat for Chinook and coho habitat. We have about 16 miles of habitat upstream of our project site, which includes essential cold water springs that provide over summer rearing for coho salmon. Next slide. Since around 1947, the Cardoza Ranch, who is our landowner that we were working with, had exercised their 2.9 CFS water right from April 1st to October 1st by blocking two 4-foot culverts that were located in a floodplain spanning levee in Lower Parks Creek, which is approximately 1.8 miles upstream of the confluence with the Shasta River. And you can see this levee right in the middle of that photo that I'm projecting. There's a levee that kind of runs across the middle of the screen, and you can see Parks Creek there, as I've highlighted. There's two culverts there. They would block it and create that 25-acre impoundment in order to build the head necessary to deliver their water right. But by doing so, they created a physical fish passage barrier during the irrigation season, and they would also, this would limit fish's ability to move between Big Springs Creek, which is another project that the Wildlife Conservation Board had funded in the past, which is located downstream of the project. And so fish can relocate between Big Springs and Kettle Springs Creek, which is also highlighted on this picture. So it also limited Chinook access for spawning habitat in September, and also just would limit coho access in the winter during it because of excessive velocities through those culverts. So next slide, please. So in blocking, I guess I'm not sure if you guys can see a lot of the language that's printed on the photos, but you can see that this is an overhead photo of that same location, and blocking those culverts, they created this 25-acre impoundment. And they needed to do that because they needed the head in order to push this water down 7,000 feet of conveyance ditch to their place of use. In the photos, you can see the upper photo is just the extent of how big that very shallow impoundment was, and then along the upper part of that same photo, you can see where the head gate is and where the conveyance ditch started. Because of this, a lot of additional ground was also put into production. Next slide, please. So this is another view. This is looking downstream. You can see Parks Creek is flowing to the right corner of this photo, and that's where the confluence with the Shasta is. You can see where the place of use is, and then see how large the conveyance ditch. It's a very open earthen conveyance ditch. So in 2012, data was collected that indicated how much flow was being diverted to fulfill the water right. About between almost 7 and 9 CFS was being diverted out of Parks Creek in order for them to get their 2 CFS water right to their place of use. There's also a fish screen that was located down ditch that did not meet criteria. And also we had a lot of additional loss and conveyance from breaches of this open ditch that irrigated an additional 82 acres between the point of diversion and the place of use, between the ditch, this open ditch and Parks Creek. So next slide, please. So personally, I've been working with the Cardoza family since 2003 at looking at different alternatives to their historic irrigation practices, and then collaborated with CalTrout to apply for some grant funds to develop an alternatives analysis. At the same time, the family started to participate in the Shasta Safe Harbor Agreement, which was developing conservation strategies. So the Cardoza family basically through the Safe Harbor Agreement, negotiated what diversion changes they were going to make as part of their agreement. So through that process, the ranch agreed to move their diversion 2.8 miles downstream to the Shasta River, replumb the ranch so they could irrigate from the north instead of from the south. And then they also, the neighboring landowner, which the pre-existing diversion was located on, also agreed to replacing those two small 4-foot culverts with a fish-friendly a culvert. So through this process, CalTrout developed grant proposals for design and permitting through NIFWIF, and then we applied to WCB in 2019 and were awarded funds both from WCB, NIFWIF, and U.S. Fish and Wildlife to be able to implement this project starting July of 2020. So the first thing we started was doing pre-project monitoring, which was started in 2020 and then started on implementation. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown of all the project elements. So next slide. The first part of the project was really relocating the point of diversion down to the Shasta River. So we installed an ISI fish screen on channel, and then also installed a pump station so that the ranch could continue to divert their legal water right. And so that was completed in February of 2021. And then the next slide, please. Simultaneously, our construction crew also started working on replumbing the ranch so they could deliver water from this new point of diversion. So they filled all the open ditches and installed over 3.5 miles of pipe, a 70 kilowatt grid tied solar system to offset some of the pumping cost, and as well as 3 alternative stock water troughs. And this was all completed between February of 2021 and April 2021, so they could start irrigation that season. So the pipeline allows for the ranch to irrigate where it's needed, when it's needed, instead of using their open ditch. They use soil moisture sensors to determine when pastures need to be irrigated, so the pump is not running unnecessarily. And while the solar system does offset some of the power consumption, it does not offset all of it. And so it does encourage the landowner to have conservation in mind and leave as much water in stream as possible. Next slide, please. So once the irrigation system was up and running and they were irrigating their ranch in 2021, we focused on the removal of those old undersized culverts. So we removed those 2 undersized culverts and installed this new 20-foot span aluminum box culvert, and the bottom is set below the channel bed to encourage it to grade with natural bed material and make sure that it's completely fish passable at all flows. And this was completed in September of 2021. Next slide. Here's another picture from a different angle. You can see that big area that used to be impounded and underwater is now pasture, and the channel is maintained in its channel instead of being heated and increased ET. So all of that extra ET and that was occurring from the impoundment and the open ditches now can stay in stream. That's the flow enhancement. So next slide. This just shows a couple different angles and new off-channel habitat, and we also planted the banks. And that lower right-hand corner shows the success rate of our riparian planting for the project is about 95%. Next slide. The next slide shows that we did extensive monitoring. UC Davis was contracted to monitor at different locations to try to quantify the flow enhancement as well as the temperature improvements. Next slide. I won't get too much in the weeds of this. I just wanted to show this is a really good graphic of flow comparison since this was flow enhancement money. That purple line on that graph is pre-project. That's 2020. That's with the 2 4-foot culverts and pounding water. We saw flows about 1 CFS during summer base flows. After the project, if you want to look at that blue line, that's immediately after we moved the point of diversion downstream to the Shasta River, where we saw flows of around 5 CFS. So the water right was again 2.98, but we saw an increase in flows of more than 4 CFS during base flow, and mostly just from conserving unintended irrigation due to the inefficient, improving the efficiency of the system. Next slide. There's also temperature improvements. Again, that purple line shows pre-project temperatures downstream of the project area, and the red, green, and blue line shows post-project. We saw an improvement of 7-day max temperatures of about 3.9 Celsius. It was 3.9 degrees lower in 2021 than in 2020. Next slide. And probably the biggest improvement was really just the reduction in diversion. So once we moved the diversion downstream and converted to a pump diversion, the average use in CFS and cumulative use throughout the season dropped by almost half of the ranch's water right. And going from being only off 288 hours pre-project to being off more than close to 1,800 total hours for the irrigation season. So that equates to pre-project 12 days the irrigation system was off, to post-project 74 days the system was off. So a huge improvement. And the other project success was that we obtained a 1707 through a separate project that WCB funded with TNC to do a 1707 to maintain this conserved water from this project for the benefits of fish and wildlife. So when the diversion is off, the water that stays in stream past this new point of diversion can be protected down to a downstream place of use. Next slide. So permanent monitoring locations are going to be maintained into the future to help the ranch manage their new system. So there is a permanent real-time monitoring station in Lower Parks Creek that allows the water master to ensure that they're not diverting if there's not enough water in Parks Creek to maintain their water right. And then the ranch also has all the soil moisture sensors that we installed as part of the project to help them continue to fine-tune their irrigation and water when the pastures need water, as opposed to staying on on a set irrigation schedule. So next slide. And I just want to do a special shout out to all the folks that contributed to making this project a success. All the landowners, all the grantors that supported every element of this project is listed here, especially you, Wildlife Conservation Board. Without that heavy lift, this project would not have been implemented. And as well for all the contractors, engineers, and scientists that made this project a reality on the ground. So thank you so much for letting me come back and give you an update and some good news on what your funding has been able to implement on the ground and what a benefit that's been for the resource. And I don't know if anyone has questions, but I can answer them if you'd like.
Thank you so much. That was really great. I love the increased flow. Does anybody have questions? I see none. Great. Thank you again. So Amy Henderson is going to give us an update on the Desert Conservation Program, which is a new program. She'll explain it. We're making some great progress, and there'll be some cute animals, so pay attention.
Hi, everyone. So I am the Desert Conservation Program Manager, and I just wanted to provide you all with an update on where we are with the program. Next slide. So as you may recall, the main purpose of this program is to protect, preserve, and restore the natural, cultural, and physical resources of the desert through acquisition, restoration, and management. The board has thus far granted funds that will promote and protect the biological diversity of the region, including recovery of threatened and endangered species, enhance public use, provide resilience in the region to climate change, and has returned ancestral lands to tribes. Next slide. And this is just a cute picture of the Mojave ground squirrel eating. Okay, next slide. Okay, so here is a visual breakdown of how the grant funds have been allocated. And as you can see, it's spread very nicely among the entire desert. And Jen, did you have anything that you want? No. Okay. All right, next slide. Okay, so to date, 9 projects have been approved, totaling $19.8 million, which includes 3 implementation grants, 4 studies, and 2 planning projects, along with 2 approved acquisitions totaling $3.2 million and 699 acres. Finally, we have 3 proposed projects totaling almost $16.8 million, one of which will be presented to you today at this board meeting. Next slide. So one grant I'd like to briefly highlight is the Mojave Ground Squirrel Study. The data being collected is phenomenal, especially the camera study that they're doing. So along with the amazing photos of animals, one of the significant pieces of data collected on the squirrel is the researchers have found that the squirrels are actually out later than they thought. So because of this camera study, they've seen them out and about until mid-October. And current protocols are, typically showed them starting their estivation or going underground in July or August. So that's going to have some impacts for the protocols. And so insights such as these will continue to add to the life history of this species, as well as others, and will help to manage our desert resources better. So next slide. And so that was it. So I don't know if any of you all have any questions, but we've really had some amazing people working out in the desert now. And so the grants that you all have funded have truly, truly made an impact out in this region. So we just wanted to update you and thank you.
Great. It's exciting updates and definitely lots of cute pictures of animals. All right, so now we will move on to our consent agenda. So again, a reminder to the board that item 20 is moved into the presentation. So we have items 7 through 19, correct, that need approval through consent. Is there a motion?
Quick question.
Yeah.
There was a letter on item 19 related to, from Phoebe Lenhart, I think. Has that been responded to?
Yes, we
Okay.
responded to it and we shared it with the department.
Good, thank you.
Great. Any other questions on the consent? Okay. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second?
Great. So
Do we
not have Motion. public yes, we will take public comment. Sorry.
It's all right.
There are no.
So public
hands.
comment. So for public comment, before we take a motion, so if there's anyone in the room who would like to make any public comments on this item, on any of the consent agenda items, please come on up. Just go ahead and line yourself up and we'll take you one at a time, and then we'll move on to see if there's any public comment from online. So welcome, please state your name.
Thank you. I'm Shelton Douthit from Feather River Land Trust. I just want to take a moment to thank all of you again for your continued support for our efforts in Sierra Valley. And I did want to call out the landowners in this case. This was a really tragic story. This involved the original Bunta Ranch that was sold in the early 2000s. And unfortunately, Land Trust didn't have the capacity or the skills to assist the landowners. They were 5 generations of historic ranchers, and they couldn't afford to keep the ranch. So they passed it on to a developer who subdivided it. And luckily, with the support of all of you and also the Department of Fish and Wildlife, the Northern Sierra Partnership, and some incredible staff from all the agencies. We've been able to work with a landowner who is now bringing it back together. So we're very excited about this. The ranch is now almost entirely pieced back together, and it's a success story. And as we complete this conservation easement, it will no longer be available to be further sold off in individual lots. So it's seldom this happens, and I just wanted to call it out to all of you. And I have a couple quick folks I need to thank. Both the Grass Heist family, Michael and Kim, who no longer own the property but started the process. And then our current owners, Martin and Mary Goodwin, who come from a long family. They're very devoted to conservation in the area. So I just want to, this wouldn't be happening without their support. And then we have an incredible team. I want to call out Christy Jameson, who's stuck up in Sierra Valley right now, couldn't make it over the pass. Also Rosalind Peters, our great GIS field person. And then Michael Shaw from WCB. And then we had a real hero here, which most of you may not know, and that was Jared from DGS. Got to shout out DGS and their hard work approving our appraisal. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your persistence.
One of the few times Department of General Services has been shouted out.
I know, I hope we taped that.
I know, I was going to say that. So wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else in the room on any agenda items on consent? Okay, seeing none. Do we have any hands raised for consent agenda items?
We have one raised hand.
Okay, can you identify which item you're speaking on? Welcome.
Hi, good morning. My name is Sierra Lorenz. I'm the executive director with the Petaluma River Park Foundation. We are one of the projects on your consent agenda this morning. And I just wanted to chime in to express our gratitude to the Wildlife Conservation Board for the award of this grant. This is our first funding from WCB, and we're excited about the potential of this partnership. Our project is 35 acres of open space inside of the urban core of Petaluma and Sonoma County. Our project is community-led, and I'm here to express the gratitude from our community at large on the value of enhancing our planning efforts. The project will not only conserve and restore and create climate resilient habitat on 35 acres in the middle of the city. It will also continue to empower our community members to lead on this effort and connect various community members, especially those that don't have traditional access to open space and nature, to the land itself, and empower them to take ownership in creating this park for all. So thank you so much for your support.
Great, thank you. That concludes our online comments.
There are no raised hands.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so that wraps up our public comment. Any further discussion from the board? Please.
Just really appreciate that last comment. Love hearing from new partners. So would love to hear more from folks who are new to the space, and just again to welcome you and look forward to seeing projects from all over the state and our existing and new stakeholders. Appreciate it.
Wonderful. Okay, not seeing any more hands from the board for discussion. Now I will entertain a motion from a board member.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so board motion approving consent items 7 through 19. Go ahead and take the roll call.
Chair Buckday,
Aye.
Vice Chair Bonham,
Aye.
Member Nagami,
Aye.
Member Pavle. Aye. Member Peralt. Member Phillips,
Aye.
Member Murray,
Aye.
motion passes.
Wonderful. Congratulations to all the grantees. All right, so I will hand it off to our executive director to introduce item number 20.
Yeah, so Member Phillips asked that we get just a short presentation on this. There are no slides. This is simply a transfer of funds from the Department of Fish and Wildlife to the Wildlife Conservation Board. DFW received funding in some of the budget surplus funds in the past to implement their natural community conservation program. They're, of course, the experts that permit these programs, which are regional conservation strategies that come with a commitment for conservation in exchange for endangered species permitting, to overly simplify a complex process. In any case, the department, we work in partnership with them often to help with the state and federal commitments to land acquisition as part of these projects. And in this case, the department is transferring funds to WCB so we can help them specifically with the land acquisition work. We have the expertise in-house, both the right-of-way agents, we have the ability to put money into escrow fairly easily. So for them to just gin up that whole system for this, what may be one-time money, it just seemed more efficient for us to do it. So they are transferring it to us.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, are there any public comments for item number 20 in the room? Okay, seeing none, do we have any hands up online for public comment on item number 20?
There is one raised hand.
Okay, go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
They dropped their hand, sorry.
Okay. All right. Is there any further discussion? Questions from the board on item 20? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Second. Great, thank you. Mary, can you take the roll call, please?
Chair Boakday,
Aye.
Vice Chair Bonham. Member Nagami,
Aye.
Member Pavle. Aye. Member Peralt. Member Phillips.
Aye.
Member Murray.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you. So I will move us on to item number 21.
Yeah, we have David Dodds presenting Skyline North. Welcome, David.
Morning, everyone. The item before us is to consider an allocation of a grant to the Endangered Habitats Conservancy to acquire a property and then subsequently transfer it to the Department of Fish and Wildlife in the future. The property itself is a 557-acre property known as Skyline North, located in the unincorporated community of Hamul in eastern San Diego County. WCB has funded a number of projects in the region in the past, including Skyline South, McGinty Mountain Ecological Reserve, Otay Ranch Ecological Reserve, and Rancho Hamul Ecological Reserve. Additionally, several WCB-funded planning, restoration, and public access projects have been implemented in the area, include the East Otay Regional Trails Planning, Regional Natural Community Conservation Planning, and the Otay Valley Regional Park Hydrology Study and Restoration Planning. The property itself is located in the County of San Diego Multiple Species Conservation Program area and provides a critical link between the, sorry, I'm looking for the, can we get the next slide, please? I don't have the clicker. I just realized. I apologize. The panic look was not about the presentation, but about the clicker. My apologies. The Skyline North property itself provides a critical link between the multiple species conservation plan area, the Cleveland National Forest, and the ecological reserves previously mentioned, in addition to a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service wildlife refuge. The property features dense chaparral vegetation communities along with South Coast live oak riparian forest communities. Pictured here are those habitat communities on the western portion of the property. Next slide, please. The property is within the federally endangered, within the habitat region for the federally endangered Quino checker spot butterfly and close to key populations of the federally threatened Hermes copper butterfly, which have been observed at the Skyline South property and the Sikian Peak Ecological Reserve. Both species are found from southern San Diego County to northern Baja California, and the Hermes copper butterfly host plant pictured here is the spiny redberry, and that plant is found on site, giving hope that the butterfly will also be observed upon public ownership or CDFW ownership. And the Hermes copper butterfly was observed on an adjacent property earlier this year. Next slide, please. Golden eagles, a fully protected species in California, hunt on the property and known to nest nearby. This region is home to some of the last coastal valleys where the birds can forage, as pictured on the right. A number of other important species are located on the property, including the state-listed Dehesa beargrass, western spadefoot, which a tadpole is pictured on the left, Rufous crowned sparrow, Cooper's hawk, Blainville's horned lizard, black-tailed jackrabbit, San Diego woodrat, and Otay manzanita. The Endangered Habitats Conservancy will be the interim owner and manager of the property. Eventually, EHC will transfer the property to the Department of Fish and Wildlife for ownership and management as part of the Sikian Peak Ecological Reserve. Inclusion in the ecological reserve will permit public access compatible with protection of threatened and endangered species habitat. The Department of General Services approved fair market value is $1.9 million. The WCB grant will cover the entire purchase price. With us today in the audience is Michael Beck, president of the Endangered Habitats Conservancy, and online are Kyle Rice, Glenn Lepke, and Nick Aponte from the South Coast region of California Department of Fish and Wildlife. Mr. Beck will say a few words about the property, and then all of us will be available for questions.
Thank you, David, and good morning, Madam Chair and Board. I'd like to add a couple of thoughts to what David was describing. You know, we're 30 years in now to the NCCP, first NCCP really in California. So the remaining landscape that was still mostly intact is South County, and the Wildlife Conservation Board, along with Section 6 funding and local funding, has been assembling this preserve for 30 years. And we've got an incredible support system, including kind of state-of-the-art science management and monitoring through the San Diego Management and Monitoring Program, which is funded to the tune of $4 million a year locally from Sandag. And a number of listed species, of course, David went through some of them. And so the context for this acquisition is just a continuation of what the board has been supporting over the years. And we've just come so close to severing some of the key linkages because some of these properties are large ranches. You're all familiar with Village 13, Proctor Valley, and that whole effort. And this is, as the eagle flies, a couple miles from, not too far from that location. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to not just our appreciation, but everybody in San Diego that's been part of this for 30 years. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Please, Catherine.
Yeah, and this is more sort of just curiosity. Why is there sort of this middleman on this one? If it's going to be transferred over to CDFW, why doesn't CDFW just take our money and do it?
The property has a very high carrying cost, and until very recently was owned by an estate of a deceased individual. To prevent, that individual had several plans to develop the property over the last 40 years or so. To prevent an open market sale and potential continuation of those development plans, the Endangered Habitats Conservancy and the Conservation Fund have secured the property so it can be purchased for conservation, and when CDFW funding for management and ownership is available, they will be able to take over ownership and management.
Again, thank you.
Any other questions, comments from the board? on this item? Okay, do we have, thank you. Do we have any public comments in the room for this item number 1? Okay, do we have any public comments online?
We have 3 raised hands.
3? Okay, well, go ahead and start with our first public comment.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I have a concern that Wise Carver Lane is basically a dead-end road. And part of the Wise Carver Lane is going to end up going through part of this plan. And it's the only way in and out for people that live in that area. And what my concern is that generally speaking, this was basically easement road, supposedly the responsibility of the owner, but basically maintained by all the people who have to use the road. It gets washed out a lot in the rainy season. So there's several people that live out that way who have skip loaders with grading boxes and such. They would come in and fix the road when it was washed out. And in addition to that, it's the only open enough area that SDG&E or anybody who's trying to offload like a tractor trailer for heavy equipment or whatever they're doing out in the area, that's the only place that they can kind of get to the side and offload the heavy equipment. SDG&E does that and various other people. And then, of course, part of my question is too, that if this becomes something managed by the Department of Fish and Wildlife, how does that affect people driving through the road? For example, if somebody's transporting guns to a fire range, bringing through propane or septic tank deliveries and such. I guess part of the thing is why not truncate this section and leave it somehow as public easement road and not part of the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. And I know there's two other aspects I'd like.
Can you please wrap up your comments? We've gone past the 2 minutes. Thank you.
I'm concerned that one little piece of the road is basically no longer just going to be easement road. It will be managed by the Department of Fish and Wildlife, and therefore certain restrictions may fall into that people wouldn't be aware of and may get caught up in the process of trying to maintain their property and the road.
All right, thank you for your comments. We'll move on to the next speaker.
Kim, you can unmute yourself.
Can you repeat the name of the person you're unmuting? I don't think they could hear.
Kim, you can unmute yourself.
Sorry, I'd already started. Sorry about that. This is Kim Beals. It was a pleasure meeting you guys on the trail the other day. We're thrilled to have Fish and Wildlife as our new neighbor. That's excellent. We appreciate that you acknowledge the easements and prescriptive easements and horse trails and our deeds, all the stuff that we had talked about. The sole reason that we purchased our land out here was because of the horse trail system that was guaranteed in our deed. The reality of it is, just so that as you guys are making decisions, there's very few households that really take advantage of it. 3 of us do riding and hiking, and there's another 4 families that just do walking or jogging out there. As we're looking forward to having you guys as new neighbors, there's 3 quick things that I just wanted to put in the notes to see as you're doing considerations. One is there's a stream that runs through the canyon that provides water to the wildlife. It drives up during the summer, and it would be great if we could have some like catch basins or troughs to provide the water to the wildlife year round. I think that'll help with their migration and keeping everybody where they need to be. The second is the canyon hasn't burned since 1970, and it might be good to do like a fire break or something going across the corridor Wise Carver basically to Sequan Peak, so that there's some way for the wildlife to get out that direction when that fire does come. And then the last thing, the previous person actually kind of touched on, which was just the driving through. Obviously, you have to drive through my property, either going on Hillary or on Emily. All the neighbors kick in to help with that. It'd be great if Fish and Wildlife could maybe once a quarter or something like that, bring in one of their dozers, which are bigger than ours, and help us with some road maintenance or easement maintenance. That would be awesome. Anyway, we're looking forward to having you, and I think you guys will really enjoy the wildlife out there.
Great. Thank you for your comment. We'll move on to third public comment.
While they get ready, we met Miss Beals on the property last week, and she's got the most adorable horse, and he let us pet him, and so it was a great coincidence to run into her.
Janet, you can unmute yourself.
Janet, we can't hear you. I don't know if you can unmute. All right, maybe while we wait to see if Janet can join us, are there questions, comments from the board? So I see Catherine and Damon, so we'll go Damon and then Catherine.
Sure, thanks. Actually, it's a follow-up to Catherine's earlier question. So sounded like the transfer from EHC to CDFW would happen. Sound like you said if there is or once there is funding for management of the property, is that pretty much going to happen? Or is there some concern given state budget?
This is not a new circumstance that over time, as the state budget may go up or down, its constituent departments, are attentive to overextending themselves or not. When the department thinks about its own land management activities, it is also important for the department to think through how to be a good neighbor. Several of the questions from public comment were about future relationships. I think a benefit of this interim period working with kind of the regional nonprofit leader can be that the department sits down with those commenters and thinks about the future for management and ingress and egress consistent with the purpose of the land acquisition. We spend a lot of time in the region investing in this landscape of preserved habitats. So I do think the department is confident about its ability to do right on the operations and maintenance front. I couldn't tell you, board member, if that's in 2 years or 3 years, but.
Okay, thanks.
So you almost answered my question because two of the commentators mentioned the road, either maintenance or access and stuff like that. Will any of that change in the near term, their access? And the second one, is that the kind of conversation that can be had with either the Endangered Habitat Conservancy or CDFW, and they are engaging in that conversation?
Yes, on the conversation part.
Both
In the interim.
organizations, yeah, I'll speak for everybody, I guess. Having those conversations and have been for some time, and those conversations will continue.
Okay.
The neighboring landowners, a number of them have deeded legal access through easements on the property. And there are a number of maintenance agreements from prior ownership with some of those owners or with in regards to property the prior owner had. Also, those agreements and those ingress and egress easements will continue under EHC or CDFW's ownership.
Thank you.
Did you want to make any comments about the?
Yeah, I
Access
appreciate
issue.
the concerns by phone and also, or by Zoom and also by the board. Just to clarify, our senior, once we own a property, we're immediately engaged with all the property owners. And in this case, actually way before the acquisition. So for the last year or so, our senior land managers, actually, he lives in this community, knows many of the people that we're talking about, and the title report and all the easements and handshake agreements and all that. We work those out on all of our properties. And in some cases, in South Crest, for example, work with the fire district to make sure that there's fire egress in case of emergency, that sort of thing. So that's part and parcel of all of our ownerships. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there, or do we have our third public comment person on? Janet, thank you for the reminder.
We no
Okay.
longer have Janet.
We no longer.
Okay, all right. Okay, any
We
further?
also have two other raised hands.
Oh, two additional raised hands? Okay, so we'll
That
go
is
ahead and
correct.
take those. Okay. Let's get started with the next public comment. You have 2 minutes.
Jenny Valley, you can unmute yourself.
Hello, I appreciate this meeting. I live on Wise Carver, and we've been hearing a lot of talk about the road. I just heard, I believe Mike say that he's been in communication with the neighbors all this time. I'm right there in the thick of it, and I've never heard a word. And I only found out about this meeting from a neighbor whose property borders it. What's the plan with Wise Carver? Because it's a private road. And right now, people are already illegally driving on it. And we've had neighbors that have been run into a ditch. I've been had an auto point at me when I was hiking. We've had a lot of problems. They're going very fast through a little tiny neighborhood. What is the future problem? What is the future plan with Wise Carver?
All right, thank you for your comment. We'll move on to our next public comment. You have 2 minutes.
Lisa H., you can unmute yourself.
Thank you. My comment is very similar to some of the other ones that you've had, but a little bit more broader. As you know, the access to this area is over private easements for ingress and egress. Will this area be open to the public for, say, either motorized or non-motorized recreation? And if so, what is the plan to provide parking for these individuals, as the access road that they will be using as a private easement and not available for public parking? So I would like to see something addressed in the plan regarding where they plan on having the public access this area from, if there is going to be public access. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any additional raised hands online?
There are no raised hands.
Okay. Any further discussion, questions from the board on this item?
I wonder maybe, I appreciate what people's concerns are. And I think what is happening now is that there's an acquisition of this property by entities that are probably in better position to start addressing some of those concerns than what the status quo has been. And I'm catching Chuck's eye, and I get the strong impression that CDFW is committed to making sure this area works in the best way for everybody involved. And so I would not be, if I were living there now, I think the status quo sounds like it's not working and that this new approach may present a better situation for those folks who live there now.
Do you want to make any comments?
Sure.
Chuck, okay.
And I have not met personally any of the public commenters, so for their benefit, since they're virtual, this is Chuck Bonham. I'm the director of the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. I think it's important and a commitment the department can make that before any subsequent transfer happens from the nonprofit organization to the department, our staff at the regional level, along with each of those commenters, completes a discussion to, develop like called a management plan or a set of understandings and agreements to honor, existing entitlements and, discuss what the long-term maintenance of the road will be. I think that could be an advantage of this interim period because it would inform then what the ongoing costs related to that aspect of this acquisition would be. And I think our department staff that manage other department lands in the proximate area are experienced in and willing to do that due diligence with those landowners. I don't have the ability to say today, what is a commitment to that outcome because I personally am not fluent in the details, but I can assure the department as the institution that will be the eventual potential owner will go through that conversation with each of these individuals. And I think standard practice is my remarks right down at the podium become part of the approval record. So they're the minutes of the Wildlife Conservation Board in the record, so to speak, for the transaction so that each of these individuals can point back to that record as we go through the next couple of years of discussion.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my comment. Can we make sure that the minutes from this meeting get attached to the grant agreement, the file, so that as, given that the transition may take another 2 to 3 years, it's good to be able to kind of memorialize the conversation that's happening. So can we ensure that it stays attached to the grant agreement? Okay.
Yeah. I just want to acknowledge the speakers, the adjacent landowners, the neighbors, the locals. I can totally appreciate that if you didn't, know this meeting was happening, you don't know who the Wildlife Conservation Board is, that there would be concerns, that this transfer is not maybe going to alleviate, but could exacerbate these problems, these challenges that they're already experiencing. So I just want to say, really appreciate you attending the meeting. I'm sorry that, that maybe this is just, that it's news to you and you're just finding out about it. You might not know Director Bonham. I do. And I really trust him when he says these things about, assurances and taking these next couple of years to sit down with folks and make sure that moving forward, once the transfer does go through to the department, that concerns are heard and addressed in a way that works for folks. I've seen him do it lots of times, bring people together and address multi-stakeholder challenges. So I just really appreciate the comments from Chuck and want to thank the speakers for being here.
Thank you. Wholeheartedly agree with your comments. Any further discussion, questions from the board? Okay, I think we're at a point. I'll entertain a motion for item 21.
I'll move to approve item 21.
Okay, is there a second? Second. Great. So we will take the roll call. Mary?
Chair Bolte,
Aye.
Vice Chair Bonham,
Aye.
Member Nagami,
Aye.
Member Pavley,
Aye.
Member Peralt, Member Phillips.
Aye.
Member Murray,
Aye.
motion passes.
Great, thank you. We will now move on to item number 22.
So we have Don Crocker presenting on building resilience on Santa Cruz and Santa Rosa Islands. I want to point out that we have some guests in the audience, and last I saw them, we were being held hostage by humpback whales in the night trying to get back from these islands, and they clean up really well. So I almost didn't recognize them, but thank you, Don.
Thank you, Jen. This proposal is to consider the allocation for a grant to the Nature Conservancy for a cooperative project with the National Park Service, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, State Coastal Conservancy, California Department of Fish and Wildlife, and California Institute of Environmental Studies to increase the area of fog harvesting cloud forest and riparian habitat on Santa Rosa and Santa Cruz Islands. Next slide, please. Due to their relative isolation, the Channel Islands, which include Santa Cruz and Santa Rosa Island, are a hotspot of unique biodiversity. This has led some to refer to the islands as the Galapagos of the North. There are currently around 100 plant species that only exist there, and 20 of these are listed as either endangered or threatened. These species are being imperiled because beginning in the early 20th century, cattle, sheep, and other non-native animal species were imported as part of ranching and farming operations on the then privately owned islands. The introduced herbivores grazed unchecked for close to 100 years and transformed approximately 72% of Santa Cruz and Santa Rosa Islands into invasive grassland or bare ground. The grazing was halted when the islands were acquired by the Nature Conservancy and the National Park Service. And in the 30 years or so since the removal of the last grazers, the islands have rebounded to around 77% natural habitat. This passive restoration was remarkably successful, but the recovery is not complete. The project you are considering today aims to further the recovery by implementing active restoration in the areas that were not able to recover on their own. Next slide, please. So this project has 5 main objectives. The first is to increase the fog harvesting cloud forest on Santa Rosa Island. These cloud forests are a unique ecosystem they exist along the highest ridges in the islands, and they obtain the water from fog that blows through the region. Many of these areas on Santa Cruz Islands are now bare ground, and without the trees and shrubs to harvest the water from the clouds, the ecosystem has collapsed. This will be reversed by installing fog harvesting infrastructure and adding erosion control and establishing 5,000 native trees and shrubs that, when grown, will be able to intercept fog. Next slide, please. And here's a couple of pictures of the fog harvesting infrastructure. Basically, they're based on mesh that condenses water from the fog that passes through, and it drops it down either directly on the root zone or into a trough that's included with that hooks into an irrigation system. So it's low tech, but it's extremely effective. Next slide, please. The second objective is to reduce invasive species in Santa Cruz Island's riparian habitat. These stream and creek areas have proven resistant to passive restoration, so the project will target the removal of 12 priority invasive species, plant species, in the island's Central Valley riparian corridor, all the way down to the wetlands that prisoners harbor. The project will also fund surveying for the presence of Argentine ants, which is a particularly troublesome invasive insect that has been largely eradicated from the island, but is suspected of having remnant populations near the project site. Next slide, please. The third objective is to increase the area of resilient riparian woodlands in the Central Valley watershed on Santa Cruz Island. This will be done by completing the outfitting of a newly constructed nursery, then collecting local seeds and propagating plants. These plants will then be installed along with irrigation infrastructure with the goal of establishing 5,000 native trees and shrubs. Next slide, please. The fourth objective is to establish additional populations of 4 priority federally listed plant species. These plants shown here are all considered high priority by the island's managers and will be propagated in the greenhouse alongside the riparian species from Objective 3. Next slide, please. The fifth and final objective is to involve the public in meaningful ways to accelerate the restoration on both islands. This will be done by hosting and training interns, students, underserved youth, and volunteers who will contribute to hands-on restoration work as part of the project. There will also be collaboration with Chumash tribal bands culturally affiliated with the area who will be given opportunities for engagement with the project, reconnecting to the land, and advancing shared learning such as traditional ecological knowledge. Next slide, please. And along with the plants that are going to directly benefit from this project, there's a number of special status wildlife species there that will be benefiting as well, including 19 endemics that are only found on the island, as well as 14 species of greatest conservation need according to the State Wildlife Action Plan. Therefore, staff recommends the board approve this project as proposed. In the audience is Jennifer Baker from the Nature Conservancy, Annie Little from the National Park Service, Mike Parker from the California Institute of Environmental Studies, and Nick Holmes from the Nature Conservancy. Thank you.
Are there any comments from our guests for this item?
No, I think they'll say good
No?
later. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So then we'll go ahead and take any questions from the board on this item.
I just have a quick question. On the tribal partnerships piece, the way it's phrased, it's difficult for me to tell if there's already been some participation or consultation with the tribe.
There have, but.
Okay.
Tribal.
Well, just that there has is probably sufficient.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I'd like to hear, because I have the same question, because it says here will be encouraged through outreach. So can you speak to like the timing of that outreach and
What's happened so
engagement
far?
of the, yeah, and what's happened so far in terms of tribal engagement?
Absolutely.
For the
Thanks
project.
Thanks for the opportunity. So yes, we have current and ongoing outreach and engagement with the 3 tribal bands with ancestry to the Channel Islands, unaffiliated community members, and also NGO that are compiled from the various Chumash tribal bands. So those engagements include discussion, spending time on the land with those community members at this point, and then building our understanding together of the opportunities that they would like to see and the needs that they would like to meet. So I could tell you more about those, but I'll stop and see if that answers your question.
Is there any discussion around any kind of workforce development or what's the, just in terms of, so you said engagement, primarily education or joint, or can you talk a little bit more about, yeah, what that looks like?
Our understanding is that a key interest is is both access and involvement for the youth, including conservation work pathways and education. So, and we want to be really respectful for those communities to develop those. So we don't have our own ideas of what should happen in terms of curriculum or those pathways, but we can tell you that those are happening now. We do have community members who are working on some of these projects now.
A follow-up?
Okay. Yes.
For the consortium of partners, the nonprofit, the park, it's no small feat to get to the island. How do you help communities that are on the mainland tribal make it to the island? Is that a cost you help support or require them to bear?
There's a number of ways. So we do have funds included in this award. We do have match and in-kind funds as well, and from other organizations they're part of our grant package. And then we have partners who are doing a lot of really great work on this. So those include our academic partners, our actual service to the islands, Island Packers. They have a program specifically for getting youth out through their floating classroom. So there's a number of ways that those we try to create those opportunities and decrease the costs, and including supporting each of those organizations' ability to get grants and monitor and manage those funds specifically for their needs.
So is it reasonable to think those opportunities would sync up with the implementation of this grant for purposes of understanding tribal advice on the island about restoration tools, approaches, and youth that may participate in the actual doing of the restoration?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from, Fran, do you have
I
a
just
question?
have a question. I just had a comment. For those of you who've never been to the Channel Islands. From Ventura and Santa Barbara County, it's an easy day trip. You really have to see it. It's an amazing place, and the Nature Conservancy over the time with the acquisition by the National Park Service has done an amazing job. It's very popular with all levels of tourism and the public. I know Cal State Channel Islands has an overnight place that they stay in. Students, just regardless of major, will spend time out there on the islands. You see them almost any day that's clear all there. So just for example, last week, one day trip, people came out there, came back. They reported seeing 49 humpback whales and over 2,000 bottlenose dolphins, and that was a slow day. But amazing resource, really close. I mean, you can be in Oxnard, which is, you know, a disadvantaged community and things. It's an hour and a half boat ride to maybe 2 hours to Santa Cruz Island, further to Santa Rosa, but amazing resource. So put that on the to-do list for the Wildlife Conservation Board at some time, because I know people have gone to some other islands in the other parts of California that come down and see the Channel Islands. It's quite amazing.
Thank you. All right, so we will now move on to, are there any public comments in the room for item 22? See one, if you can just line up. Oh. Yes, I was. Okay, so we will, do we have any comments online? Any hands up online for item 22?
There are no raised hands.
Okay,
Oh. You want to?
please come on up.
I would love to. Thank you for your question about the community involvement. And I just want to say for really the legacy of staff and partners and collaborators who have worked across the Channel Islands and really decades-long restoration successes, that we're so thrilled for the opportunity for this partnership with the Wildlife Conservation Board to increase and strengthen the biodiversity and the climate resilience in this unique ecosystem. So thank you. Annie Little is also here, and she just really wants to extend her thanks from the National Park Service. Thanks, Annie.
Thank you. Annie Little with Channel Islands National Park, and on behalf of the park and our superintendent, Ethan McKinley, who is participating remotely, we would like to thank the board for their continued support of the recovery of the Channel Islands. And we would like to say that the park and TNC and our wonderful partners, such as the California Institute of Environmental Studies, are committed to the successful outcomes of this project and furthering the conservation of the unique island ecosystems and species. So we also would love to host you out on the island. So please let us know if you can make it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion from the board?
I just want to say thanks for educating us a little bit about fog harvesting cloud forests. I didn't know about that, and I appreciated the opportunity to hear a little bit about it and see the photos. Very cool.
Okay, so with that, can I get a motion on item number 22?
So moved. Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Can you take roll call, please, Mary?
Chair Boakday? Aye. Vice Chair Bonham? Member Nagami?
Aye.
Member Pavle?
Aye.
Member Peralt? Member Phillips?
Aye.
Member Murray?
Aye.
The motion passes.
All right, thank you. We'll now move on to item number 23.
The next project is Toro Creek Phase 2, and Sadie Smith is going to present for us.
Good morning. So this project involves a grant to the County of San Luis Obispo to acquire the 748 Toro Creek Phase 2 property located on the east side of Highway 1 between Morro Bay and Cayucos in unincorporated San Luis Obispo County. Next slide, please. Property and surrounding 3,000 acres of land have been owned and managed by Chevron since 1929. for the purpose of conveying and storing petroleum products. Chevron began retiring the facilities in 1999. Since then, Chevron has subdivided their land holdings. Several of their parcels have been sold off for development. This property is made up of 4 acquisitions or APNs that could support at least 4 rural residential home sites and associated agriculture infrastructure. Next slide, please. Toro Creek Phase 2 is the second of 3 phase projects envisioned by the local community with the ultimate potential to preserve approximately 1,400 acres of the prior Chevron lands. The first phase was completed in 2020 with WCB and partner funding, which provides public bluff and beach access. The proposed acquisition will permanently prohibit all future residential and commercial development and protect water resources and habitats within the Toro Creek and Avila Paul watersheds, 2 creeks that drain to the coast. Next slide, please. The property is primarily grasslands intermixed with coastal scrub with pockets of oak woodland. The property's large open grasslands and coastline woodland areas support a large population of deer, mountain lion, and bobcat. Next slide, please. Areas of riparian habitat featuring coast live oak, western sycamore, and blackwood cotton are located along the upper reaches of Avila Paul Creek, a seasonal creek that bisects the property. Habitat for the California red-legged frog and southwestern pond turtle is also found along the creek's upper reaches. Next slide. The property is currently used for wildlife habitat and cattle grazing. Next slide, please. Once acquired and following the planning process, the county intends to open the property to public access as a county park. Hiking is the primary expectation in non-consumptive wildlife use. A management plan will be developed for the property in partnership with the Northern Chumash Tribal Council to ensure the sustainable conservation of the natural and cultural resources of the property and consultation with CDFW to preserve and enhance the natural habitats of the property. Staff recommends that the Wildlife Conservation Board approve this project as proposed. Sean Cooper, Assistant Director of the county's Park and Recreation Department, and Daniel Bowman, Deputy Director of the Land Conservancy of San Luis Obispo, and representatives from the Northern Chumash Tribal Council are on the line with us today. I'd like first to give them each a chance to speak, starting with the Tribal Council. If you would like to raise your hand.
While we're waiting to see if we have our guests online, I just want to call the board's attention. I did provide to you a letter we received from the Northern Chumash Tribal Council yesterday or the day before. We received that, and that's in your packet, as well as our approval motion, which we'll discuss. Do you want to wait? We'll wait till we're done.
There are a couple raised hands.
Yeah, go ahead and call on them. Thanks, Drew.
Okay, Daniel, you should be able to talk.
Actually, if Violet Sage Walker or anyone from the tribe is on, we'd like to call on them first.
They're currently don't have their hands raised.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so shall I go then?
Go ahead, Daniel.
Okay, thank you, Chair Bogday and members of the board and Director Norris. My name is Daniel Bowman, as Sadie just mentioned a moment ago, and I serve as the Deputy Director for the Land Conservancy of SLO County. And as you just heard from staff, and as you will hear in a moment from the county, the multi-phase Toro Creek Preserve project is truly a project for the community. Establishing this new county park along the north coast of San Luis Obispo will not only allow for residents and visitors alike to experience the myriad benefits that our precious green spaces provide, but once completed would add much needed low-cost accommodation in a heavily impacted area, enhance economic vitality to the communities of Morro Bay and Cayucos, which are increasingly dependent on tourism. Furthermore, this project is critical to the creation of the Morro Bay to Cayucos Class 1 connector pathway. This path, which will be a portion of the California Coastal Trail, will allow for the safe passage of pedestrians and cyclists between these two coastal communities. And of course, projects like this one are not simply for people to enjoy. This project, like so many on your agenda today, serve to protect the truly precious ecological, historical, and prehistorical elements found throughout this site. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge our local partners, the County of San Luis Obispo and the Cayucos Land Conservancy and the Morro Bay Open Space Alliance. We simply could not have gotten where we are today without their support and dedication. And finally, I would like to thank the State Coastal Conservancy and this board for your ongoing support of this project and for the others on this agenda. Our collective work is truly helping to make California a better and still wild place to live. Thank you, and I will remain available for questions should you have any.
Is there anyone else online that wants to speak?
Yes, Sean Cooper. You should be able to unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, board members, staff. I'm Sean Cooper, Assistant Director for San Luis Obispo County Parks and Recreation. And on behalf of the county and the residents and visitors of the county, I would like to thank the board for considering this project. This has been a significant effort with our partners, as Daniel mentioned. And I'd also like to thank and recognize the Wildlife Conservation Board Executive Director and staff for their efforts on this project, California Coastal Conservancy staff, the Land Conservancy of San Luis Obispo, the Land Conservancy of Cayucos, Morro Bay Open Space Alliance, and the private citizens for their support and donations for this acquisition, and also Chevron staff for working through the process of this acquisition. So with that, once again, thank you for your support, and I'm available for any questions.
So Sean, I have a question.
Sure.
Great, if I might, Chair.
Yes, please.
Okay, so this is Chuck Bonham. I'm the Director of the Department of Fish and Wildlife. As you may know, the board is in receipt of a letter from Chair Walker, Chairwoman of the Northern Chumash Tribal Council, dated November 19th, 2024.
Yeah, yes.
And you may know that, as I understand it, the board might consider approval today, but it's conditional approval.
Understood.
So I want to be very direct with you as the representative on the phone from the county. It's my understanding, and I believe strong sense of solidarity with each of my board members. We are not doing business as usual from this board. Our expectation with our grantees that operate in the governmental space at the county and local levels is meaningful collaboration with tribes in your areas. So are y'all prepared at the county level to meaningfully engage with the tribal chair, council, and their elders to create a memorandum of agreement about this project and protection of ancestral and tribal issues related to the property?
Yes, and we've sent an initial letter to the Northern Chumash Tribal Council outlining our intent to enter into a memorandum of agreement, and then I've also sent a draft agreement to them with our intention and wanting input on the crafting of that agreement so we can move forward with a good understanding of collaborative working relationship throughout the planning of this project and management of the property.
Okay. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Are there any more guests to speak on this? Okay, any further questions, comments from the board before we turn it over for public comment?
Yeah,
Catherine?
I am a California red-legged frog fan, and I just want to make sure that as you're planning your, or as the county is planning its trails through this area, that they remember and consult with some amphibian experts, because the red-legged frog doesn't just hang out in the ponds. It tends to go up to a mile away, which is pretty shocking and surprising. But we want to make sure that they're not put in the path of folks or horses that might tromp on them. So.
Samantha, please.
Thank you. this may just be the lawyer in me. But as I look at the binder materials that we have for this agenda item under priority metrics, given the letter that we have from the chair and given the conversation that Chuck just had with the county, under the priority metrics where it says tribal partnerships, no, should it say yes? I'd like for it to say yes.
It should say yes.
Okay.
We printed this and put it out.
Of
And that
course.
was, then we subsequently had the meeting with the chairwoman and learned that there were these concerns. So it's inconsistent with our board packet, agreed, but we now have all this information is now in our record and will be part of this
Perfect.
decision and make it clear that tribal partnerships will be a yes moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please, Damon.
Thank you. Appreciate the discussion so far. Conditional approvals are not something we do often, so I think for my benefit, for the board members' benefit, for the public's benefit, if someone could sort of explain how that works and what the process is, appreciate that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to jump in. So, as we've all pointed out, we learned a bit late about the concerns about management of this property and planning for protection of cultural sites as well as access. Lots of interest by the tribal council, which we absolutely want to make sure are taken into account moving forward. I think my first instinct was to table this item until February, until we had the opportunity to have more dialogue, because candidly, I don't feel comfortable pressuring a tribe to make a decision in a week. That said, Chairwoman Walker was incredibly open to this approach, and we made certain that she was comfortable with it. The reason that we didn't pull this item is because real estate due diligence being what it is, appraisals go stale. If they're running out of time on this acquisition, we can get it through this process and we won't have to redo it. But if we waited till February, we would, which would just be another expense. What we are committed to on our team is, this isn't done until we release the funds into escrow, right? Until we send the check. And we are not going to do that until there's a signed agreement with the county. So there's a lot of incentive to make that happen quickly and to the satisfaction of all parties. So that's our commitment to the board, and that's what this motion commits us all to.
So, do you have any more? So I just would like to ask about phase one and how this discussion is going to impact phase one of Toro Creek. So there's 3 phases for the whole project, and I just want to make sure that the MOA that is being discussed and kind of agreed upon between the county and the tribe would include, I assume phase one is adjacent to phase two. Can you kind of talk about where, I know the entire property is 14,000 acres, but wrong one, sorry. The entire property, 1,400 acres. So where does phase one fit into
Phase one. is
phase
to the-
two?
To the north and to the west. So it includes kind of the bluff property and beach, which is actually a dog beach now. And so this is further to the southeast of the property. And the third phase, someone correct me if I'm wrong, I wish I had a map, is to the southwest.
I think the question is about the management of phase one
Yeah,
and whether
so
the
it-
county will take the tribe into account.
Yeah, and I'd like but I was curious also about the acreage. So if what we're looking at today potentially is 748 acres, along with the first phase, what's the total acreage out of do you know, for the?
The
Okay,
other one was about 300 acres.
300,
so-
okay.
Yeah.
So, so Sean, if you're still on the phone with the county, I just wanted to make sure that since phase one is already currently in the ownership of the county, will the MOA also apply to phase one and phase three? So we're looking at the entirety of the property?
Correct. So the MOA will cover all 3 phases of the acquisition. So it will be, we'll be operating and managing it as one property with the same consultation and involvement from the Northern Chumash Tribal Council.
Okay, thank you for confirming that. Before I open it up to public comment, is the chairwoman or on the line? Or any member from the council?
Can you let me know what their names are?
Violet Sage Walker's the only
Violet,
name I'm certain
yes.
of. Others I may not know.
Violet Sage Walker, the chairwoman?
I don't see that name.
Okay. Okay, just wanted to provide an opportunity. So we'll go ahead and open it up for public comment. Anyone in the room would like to provide any public comment on item number 23? Okay, seeing none, do we have any hands raised for online public comment?
There are no raised hand.
Okay. So, any further discussion from the board? All right, so I think with that, I'll entertain a board motion on item 23.
I'll make the motion, and if we could confirm we're recording it. And I have a script to read, I think. Yeah, unless, I mean, we need a board member to do that, right? The board approves this, I move that the board approve this project on the condition that prior to disbursement of grant funds, the County of San Luis Obispo will provide to the Executive Director of the Wildlife Conservation Board a memorandum of agreement with the Northern Chumash Tribal Council, which memorandum of agreement will call for creation of a mutually agreed upon management plan, define the approach for coordination, communication, and consultation through the planning process for the property, and identify and create a process for facilitating traditional access to sacred sites, ensuring that the needs of the tribe are respected. The board otherwise approves this project as proposed.
Second. Is there a second? Great, thank you. Okay, so with that, Mary, can you please do the roll call?
Chair Bogday,
Aye.
Vice Chair Bonham,
Aye.
Member Nagami,
All right.
Member Pavle,
Aye.
Member Peralt, Member Phillips,
Aye.
Member Murray,
Aye.
motion passes.
All right, thank you. Now we'll move on to item number 24.
All right, the next item is Hershey Ranch, and we have Kendall Webster here to present.
Hi.
This Hershey Ranch land acquisition project will return 14,672 acres of ancestral land in Tulare County to the Tule River Indian Tribe. And I just want to take a minute to welcome tribal elected leaders, members, and representatives to our board meeting today. Thank you so much for traveling for this meeting. Next slide. So permanent conservation of Hershey Ranch, which is shown in yellow on this map, will ensure continued habitat connectivity for species with large home ranges. We're looking at black bear, wolf, mountain lion, and mule deer between the Tule River Indian Reservation, which is showing up as turquoise, that darker turquoise color on the map. The Giant Sequoia National Monument, which is in gray-ish. Bureau of Land Management lands in dark green, and lands conserved by the Sequoia Riverlands Trust by connecting middle elevation ecosystems, including grassland, blue oak woodland, riparian corridors, chaparral, black oak, and mixed coniferous forest. Next slide. Hershey Ranch is the ancestral homeland of the Yukut and Tabatalatl people, from whom our grantee, the Tule River Indian Tribe, is descended. During the pre-colonial period, this region was used for various traditional activities, including hunting, acorn gathering, and religious ceremonies. In the post-gold rush era, Hershey Ranch has mainly been used as grazing land and for outdoor recreation by private landowners. Next slide. The Tule River Indian Tribe has been working with California Department of Fish and Wildlife and other partners to reintroduce and study elk, wolves, beavers, and bears throughout this region. This year, CDFW confirmed the presence of the Uwalame Wolf Pack on the Tule River Indian Reservation and on Hershey Ranch, and has put radio collars on 3 wolves. The tribe is participating in a pilot program for CDFW's Beaver and Meadow Restoration Project, and the partners did 3 beaver releases on the Tule River Indian Reservation this past year. And this is a picture of one of those releases that took place on Tule River in June. After CDFW and the tribe assess conditions on Hershey Ranch, it's likely that it will be used as a beaver release site as well. The partners are currently trying to collar bears and deer on Hershey Ranch as part of CDFW's statewide monitoring to see how wolves, deer, and bears and elk all interact. Next slide. Conservation of Hershey Ranch, located up in the upper Deer Creek watershed, which is on a picture of which is on the slide, will help ensure surface flow and groundwater recharge for water-stressed, disadvantaged communities in the San Joaquin Valley who struggle with water-related issues such as flooding, groundwater overdraft, and ground subsidence, and the lack of safe drinking water. So following acquisition of Hershey Ranch, the Tule River Indian Tribe plans to restore extensive riparian areas, which will help reduce flood risk, increase groundwater recharge, decrease land subsidence, and improve water quality for downstream users. Next slide. The Tule River Tribe's Integrated Resource Management Plan, which covers the Tule Indian Reservation, may be extended to cover Hershey Ranch as well to provide to support traditional plant gathering, sustainable livestock grazing, hunting, fishing, educational programs for tribal and local youth, beaver and Tule elk reintroduction, and cultural preservation. And the tribe has already raised approximately $2 million for stewardship, planning, and restoration on Hershey Ranch. So this picture shows the existing ranching residential buildings and barn, which the tribe may also use in stewardship of the property. And the tribe plans to work with neighboring communities to create a public access policy that will allow planned visits to Hershey Ranch for outdoor enhancement and educational groups, which will hopefully lead to better recreational access for disadvantaged communities to the west. So the Department of General Services appraised value for Hershey Ranch is $14,670,000. The property owner, the Conservation Fund, has agreed to a bargain sale of $8,135,475. So I would like to note that the board agenda includes a purchase price of $8,103,183, and this is incorrect. And the record should be corrected to reflect the purchase price, which is actually $8,135,475. California Natural Resources Agency is providing $5,746,000 toward the purchase price from their Tribal Nature-Based Solutions Grant Program. And we staff recommend that Wildlife Conservation Board provide the remaining $2,389,475 for this acquisition. So with me today, we have the Tule River Indian Tribe, and also Bob Stafford from CDFW is on the phone to answer any of your questions.
Wonderful. Do we want to have any comments from anyone of the guests? Any guests here? Please come on up, sir.
Please.
Been a long drive. I drove from the Tule River Reservation, about a 6-hour drive last time. I'm still kind of tired, but I just wanted to thank you all for hosting us. And I would like to thank the members of the Tribal Council of the Tule River Tribe and our Natural Resources Program staff. And anyway, it's really good. It's really good to know that people such as you honor and love the land and its wildlife just like we do. We're an old tribe. We were established in 1873. And been pretty much by ourselves and a real resilient tribe. And we've taken care of our forests for a long time. And so we managed to come in contact with some really good people to help us get this land. And our history tells us we're a part of this land. We grow from it. We called the big redwood trees the Putzikan Yokuts. That means old people, old red people. And we lived with them during the Tule River Wars. And so this means a lot to us. And we want to teach these values to our children too. And so we'll have an education center there. And we invite the local tribes that are supporting us. And again, we thank you.
Thank you for your partnership and thank you for driving 6 hours to be here today. Thank you. Please.
Yeah, I just want to make one comment. My name is Ian Cummins. I've been lucky to work on this project and I'm just happy to be up here today and have all the support and kind of be proud of California for all the work it's doing. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions, comments from the board?
Definitely. Awesome comes to mind as a word. I have a handful of most memorable and meaningful experiences as director of the department over these last 13 years. And several of them relate to being invited by the tribe to their lands. We were so graciously honored that the tribe took time to think about with its elders what to name the wolf pack that's in its ancestral area. We've never done that before. The Yolemite pack. I have followed the lead of this tribe's council and its emeritus, now natural resource staff leadership, who has claimed a voice across the country as a beaver believer and was there in person with several hundred tribal members and their professional staff when we released beavers back on the property. And if my memory is correct, this is a tribe who has pictographs on their landscape of beavers, and they were eradicated by our predecessors. And then lastly, the future looks bright. I'm told Hershey Ranch may be hospitable as a returning spot for Tule elk, which would be pretty cool. I'm just so happy for you to have your lands come back. It's the right thing to do. It took too long, but I'm glad we're here today. So thank you.
Thank you. Please, Catherine.
I'm a little verklempt. This is a project that ticks all the boxes. And I want to thank the tribe for your good care of the land. And I want to thank the staff for bringing this for us.
Thank you. We'll now move to, are there any public comments in the audience in the room here for item 24? Okay, do we have any comments online? Any raised hands?
There are no raised hands.
Any additional questions, discussion from the board?
I just want to echo everything that's been said and just thank the tribe for being here and thanks for trusting us and thanks for letting us be a part of this with you. Yeah, it's really powerful. I think we should do lots more projects like this. So just really grateful that you're here and that you that you trusted us to work with you on this. Thanks a lot.
I agree. I just want to thank you for the partnership and the trust with the Wildlife Conservation Board. This absolutely is a model of how tribal projects need to begin from the inception. And just very excited to hear about all the wonderful work that is happening. So very excited for this project. With that, I'll take a motion. Chuck, would you like to do the honors?
I move that we approve the project as proposed by staff.
Is there a second?
I second.
Great, thank you. Please take the roll call, Mary.
Chair Boakday,
Aye.
Vice Chair Bonham,
Heck, yes.
Member Nagami,
Yes, yes, yes.
Member Pavley,
Yes.
Member Peralt, Member Phillips,
Aye.
Member Murray.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Wonderful.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. All right, we will move on to item number 25.
Well, if you like that one, you'll like this one.
Can't wait.
Pico Blanco, Michael Shaw. But we're gonna get tissues for Catherine. It's another really great project. Thanks, Michael.
Good morning, everyone. Today I'll be presenting the Pico Blanco property in Monterey County. Pico Blanco is a 327 acre fee title acquisition proposed by Western Rivers Conservancy in partnership with the Essalon Tribe of Monterey County. The property is located about 4 miles north of the town of Big Sur off of Highway 1 and about 5 miles from the Pacific Ocean to the west. The property is bordered by the Los Padres National Forest and Ventana Wilderness in Monterey County. Next slide, please. So the property was used by the Boy Scouts for about 60 years as a summer camp for Scout participants. In the aftermath of a catastrophic wildfire resulting in landslides that closed the only access to the camp, the Scouts decided to suspend the use of the camp and in 2021 decided to divest the property. The property contains approximately 1.3 miles of the Little Sur River, and the property will expand the tribe's land base and provide access to the river, as well as provide a location for a variety of tribal activities. Next slide, please. Habitats represented on the property include old growth redwood forest, riparian forest, including 1.3 miles of the Little Sur River, which is considered the most pristine stream on the Central Coast. The property supports habitat for numerous threatened and endangered species, such as the northern spotted owl, south central coast steelhead, and foothill yellow-legged frog. Next slide, please. So the Essalon Tribe of Monterey County will take ownership of the full 327 acres at closing. The property will reconnect the tribe with its ancestral land and will secure and ensure the protection of the rich cultural and archaeological resources on the property for future generations. The acquisition will provide a location for tribal ceremonies and sharing of tribal knowledge and culture with tribal members, intertribal communities, youth groups, underserved communities, veterans, and the general public. Next slide, please. So the property is greatly significant to the Essalon people, who have a 9,400 plus year history in the region. Members of the tribe have direct documented lineages to pre-colonial villages and territories along the Big Sur coast and interior mountain ranges, including where Camp Pico Blanco is located along the Little Sur River. The Essalon tribe's stewardship of the property will be focused on preservation, restoration, and enhancement of the fragile natural and cultural resources of the land, including use for both traditional tribal activities and environmental education for tribal members and other members of the public, focusing on disadvantaged and underserved communities. A key focus of the tribe's stewardship of the property will be to increase fire resiliency of the forest in this wildfire-prone landscape, including fuels reduction and fire breaks. Next slide, please. The Department of General Services approved appraised value for Pico Blanco is $1,440,000. However, there is an agreed bargain sale for the amount of $1,400,000, which will be proposed to be provided by Wildlife Conservation Board. WCB staff recommends funding the project as proposed. With us today is Tribal Chairman Tom Little Bear Nason and virtually Western Rivers Conservancy Program Director Peter Colby, who can help answer any questions that you all may have.
Would the tribal chairman like to make any comments, please?
Thank you. What a very moving day it is
Welcome.
today to see our relatives, the Tule River people, get their land to work with the species. Our tribe too has been doing similar stuff. We are so grateful to be able to present this ask, a big ask, for you to work. We have been working for decades on getting this land back, actually since it was bought by William Randolph Hearst and was owned by him. He sold it to the Boy Scouts. It belonged to us for thousands of years. Pico Blanco is actually Pichi. It's a sacred creation mountain where our coyote, hummingbird, and eagle created a universe, not just for our tribe, but also for Rumsen, Ohlone people. We share this land with other tribes as a cultural, spiritual center of our universe. It makes up the whole cosmology. Without this land, without this mountain, we feel that we are lost. We are grateful to the California Natural Resource Agency in 2020 to get our first land back with the help of Western River Conservancy and the great people and the governor. We really urge your approval of this property to help piece back together these sacred areas. Our relatives, the steelhead and the salmon, come up this river when I was a boy. And by the way, my father and grandfather built the camp in 1952, helped build it. There's a dam on the river that we look forward to removing that is impairing our steelhead. We're all the way down to numbers in the 13, under 20 fish. When I was a boy, I would see 4,000 to 10,000 fish and would eat from that. We ate from this river, our salmon. It's a world renewal ceremony for us. We need to continue to keep the stream open, protected. The ancient redwoods and the ceremony, they've grown in a circle. Our trees were planted by our people and managed and tended. We intend to manage and steward these lands and treat it like a sacred thing, which it is. Our mother, Matsu Iwano. We're going to be able to have our purification ceremonies. We're going to pass our knowledge down to our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. So we really appreciate your consideration today of this. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Any questions? Sorry. Very emotional.
Thank you so much for your comments. Are there any questions, comments from the board?
Chair, thank you for joining us today. Those in the room here are sophisticated in this space compared to maybe our broader general public. You are the leader of a sovereign nation, and your presence today honors us. I don't know about my fellow board members, but life isn't always full of happy news. Occasionally you find yourself at a moment in time where you can be part of something that's bigger than any one of us. So we would thank you for giving us the chance to continue this arc of justice for tribes around the state. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Anyone else?
Please, Damon.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. These last two projects are exactly what this agency should be doing. I'm so proud of the staff and the board for these projects going forward. At the same time, I want to name and acknowledge the harm and the trauma that tribes in California and across the country have endured. And I think we can hold both of those things, understanding that, you know, nothing is going to make up for that, but we can do what we can with the influence and the resources that we have. So thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to just build on that and say, I know that it's not enough, but it's a start in the right direction. And I just want to thank you for being here and thank you for sharing a little bit about the significance of this place for you and for the tribe and for multiple tribes. It's really powerful and just really appreciate you being here and getting to work with you on this project. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Chair, just want to echo all of the comments and just so grateful today to be able to be a very small part of creating this arc of justice that hopefully, with this acquisition going back to its rightful owner, I'm just extremely proud to be here today and just want to thank you for coming out and sharing the story. It was just very meaningful to be able to hear a little bit of what, this property means not only to you, but the tribe. So thank you again for coming and sharing your voice. And absolutely agree that WCB, the staff are doing a tremendous job in bringing these projects forward and really lifting up these opportunities for land going back to tribes. So,
Just want to say ditto to everything that's been said and thank you. I'm too verklempt to say anything more.
Thank you so much.
thank you. Do we have any public comments from the room for this?
Jaina from the tribe is online.
Oh, wonderful. Please.
You should be able to unmute yourself.
Hello, good afternoon. This is Jana Nason. I am a citizen of the Esalen tribe, and I'm here today to just personally share my excitement and humility for our tribe to return to the stewardship of these pristine lands and waters. And this sacred ancestral land return is a huge part in our own healing and reconciliation that we're in the process of right now. And this specific property is home to many of our sacred sites. And as our chairman mentioned, it is right at the base of our Creation Story Mountain. I just want to express my deep gratitude to Western Rivers Conservancy, Wildlife Conservation Board, and CDFW for their support in this project. And I also want to deeply thank everyone at California Natural Resource Agency for advocating for the 30 by 30 to conserve all of these precious lands and waters. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Do we have any hands up for public comment? Oh, please. Jeanette, welcome.
Good morning. My name is Jeanette Tuiteli Lewis, and I serve as president and CEO for Big Sur Land Trust. And I just want to say how incredibly excited we are for this land return. Over the years, I've had many conversations with the chairman from really the early acquisition of Adler Ranch, and what this means for the tribe to have this land back. And I just want to speak to the generosity of this tribe. They are doing so much in the communities. Recently, they had an archaeological field school that came out to another property out in Carmel Valley. And they are helping to train the next generation of cultural practitioners. So they're doing so much in that effort. During the COVID times, their tribal chair, vice chairwoman, Carrie Herthel, was very involved in supporting all the community in Kashawa. And I just want to say how much the tribe does for our local communities and how excited I am that they are getting at another, not quite enough, but another piece of their homeland back to own and manage as it should be. and just very excited about that. So thank you. Thank you for this consideration, and thanks.
Thank you. Are there any hands raised online for public comment?
There are no raised hands.
So with that, any additional questions, discussion from the board? Okay. Seeing none, I'll take a motion for item number 25.
I'll move to approve item number 25.
Second.
Great. Please take the roll call, Mary.
Chair Boakday,
Aye.
Vice Chair Bonham. Member Nagame,
Aye.
Member Pavley,
Aye.
Member Peralt, Member Phillips,
Aye.
Member Murray.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Congratulations. We are at 12, almost 12:20. So we are going to take a short break for lunch, and then we will reconvene at 12:50. So 30 minutes, 12:50, and we will kick it off with item number 26 on the agenda. Thank you, everyone. I'm calling the meeting back to order and 12:55 p.m. Okay, so we will resume with item number 26.
This is another super exciting project, so I hope you guys had a good lunch. You're going to like it. Kurt Malchow talking about Carr Lake restoration and park development.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. This agenda item is to consider the allocation for a grant to the Big Sur Land Trust for a cooperative project with the California Natural Resources Agency, California State Coastal Conservancy, and the California Department of Water Resources to restore and enhance 67 acres of inland wetland habitat in Monterey County. Next slide, please. As background, the Carr Lake Basin is a 480-acre area of agricultural fields right in the center of Salinas. Before European settlement, Carr Lake was the largest of a 7-lake system that captured water from the upper Gabalon watershed from the north and east, and then discharged the flow into a network of creeks and wetlands out to Monterey Bay. Carr Lake used to fluctuate between a shallow lake and wetlands each season, depending on rainfall. Next slide, please. In the early 20th century, the creeks that once flowed through Carr Lake were channelized and reclamation ditches built to drain Carr Lake and allow the flood-prone areas to be farmed. The top 2 images on this slide show segments of the channelized creeks with agricultural fields immediately adjacent. The channelization, agricultural activities, and surrounding urban development removed the riparian and wetland habitat, greatly reducing biodiversity and creating water quality issues. Despite these changes, one of the creeks in the Carr Lake Basin, Gabalon Creek, remains listed as critical for steelhead trout. Despite efforts to make the runoff more efficient, the area still floods under heavy rains as seen on the bottom image, yet without a system of riparian, wetland, and upland vegetation to trap, treat, and slowly release the runoff. Next slide, please. Recognizing this large-scale habitat loss and the restoration potential within a centralized urban area, in 2017, the Big Sur Land Trust purchased a 73-acre portion of Carr Lake. Subsequently, several years were spent assessing the site for restoration back to a riparian ecosystem to mimic historical conditions and create wildlife habitat. In 2021, the Big Sur Land Trust applied for and WCB approved a grant to bring preliminary restoration designs and permitting to full completion. This grant would finish off the funding necessary to complete the construction phase. Next slide, please. So the design calls for recreating multi-threaded streams, which would flow across a wider floodplain to better attenuate higher flows and includes seasonal wetlands to capture and hold larger excess flows during the rain season. Once restored as natural habitat, the area will slow storm runoff and allow native vegetation to naturally treat the water while increasing residents' time for higher groundwater infiltration rates. A smaller portion of the property, seen at the bottom of this slide, is being developed into an urban park which, on top of the recreation benefits from the restoration area, addresses the community's need for more park space, currently at only 1.6 acres per 1,000 residents, less than 1/3 of the national median for high-density cities. Next slide, please. Residents, community groups, city leaders, and other partners have been directly involved in the project since inception. This is critical as the project site lies within a severely disadvantaged community and is immediately adjacent to underserved communities on either side. In 2016, the Big Sur Land Trust established a core planning group to guide the acquisition process and foster community engagement. In 2018, the Land Trust began engaging Salinas residents in visioning activities for the site, followed by 6 community meetings to inform on the final design between 2018 and 2023. And through this process, Carr Lake will soon be renamed Ensign Community Park. Ensign is an indigenous word for blackberry, an important food source for indigenous people in the area currently known as Carr Lake. With strong community support, backed by a robust and inclusive planning process with a goal of providing multiple environmental and social benefits, this grant would close a critical funding gap for a project that promises to expand riparian and wetland habitat, provide ecosystem services, and increase much-needed park space for the community. Staff recommends the Wildlife Conservation Board approve the project as proposed. Joining us in person is Jeanette Twitel-Lewis, President and CEO of the Big Sur Land Trust. Joining us remotely are Rachel Saunders, Vice President of Conservation for the Big Sur Land Trust, and Beth Phoebus, Associate Director of Conservation, also with Big Sur Land Trust. Joining us remotely for comment is Genesis Mojica, Lead Youth Organizer for the Center for Community Advocacy. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to invite our guests for any remarks?
Yes.
It is so wonderful to be here, and I am just floating from this morning. So I'm hoping we can continue that amazing feeling that we had this morning with all these wonderful projects coming through. Good morning or good afternoon now, and thank you so much. I just want to start by saying that this project is not the kind of project that would have come through the Wildlife Conservation Board 7, 8 years ago even. I remember when I first brought it forward, it seemed like it didn't really fit the mission of what WCB was about. And I just want to say how grateful I am that this this council, that the state has really made changes so that projects like this and projects like this morning can really be elevated to support communities that haven't benefited from conservation previously. This project, we've had over 6,000 residents involved in the planning. It is literally a community-driven project where the Land Trust had to take a step back and learn how to do community engagement very differently than any way we've ever done before. And I am pleased to share that at the beginning of our journey, Chairwoman Budke came down in a very different capacity. Who knew she'd be in this role now? Coming down to actually advise us as we looked at how do we engage in a community that's different than some of the communities that we've had on the peninsula, some of the projects where we're looking at developing a park space. How do we work with affordable housing? How do we work with community health? How do we work with different youth-serving organizations to get everybody involved in the process? And it has been just incredibly transformative for Big Sur Land Trust and how we think about what conservation means for different communities, and just transformative for the community, for everyone to have a voice and a say in what's happening where they live. And so I just want to express my appreciation. Kurt has been great to work with. Thank you, Kurt. I also want to express my appreciation to Dr. Jen Norris for coming down and being able to see that and meet with some of our community members around this. And we're just very grateful to be here at this stage. And thank you all. Thank you for your consideration.
Great, thank you. Do we have any guests online that would like to make any comments?
Okay, there is one raised hand.
Go ahead.
Andrea, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Andrea Manso. I'm a resident Salinas and serve as the executive director for Action Council and Building Healthy Communities for Monterey County. And we're an organizing group that works to activate resident voice and power and really engage folks in building a safe and thriving community. And so we have actually been working with Big Sur Land Trust since the inception, since the very first community meetings, and bringing youth and resident leaders to share their vision and dreams for this space. And the Big Sur Land Trust team has been working really hard to really engage residents throughout the process. Because I think they understand, they understand the significance of this space to the community and really understand the importance of community involvement. And so knowing that this is really going to benefit residents in Salinas and in the neighboring communities. And so I think you've probably heard that Carr Lake has been a dream for the Salinas community for decades. And we're so excited to be part of that dream. And Sin Community Park is finally coming to life as we speak. And since then, I have actually joined the board and have continued providing support for community engagement efforts. And so just really want to highlight the connection with healthy land and healthy communities through this space. And, Salinas really lacks the adequate amount of open and green space for its number of its residents. And Carr Lake being at the center of Salinas would really give an opportunity for, deeper connection with the land and the community, and the opportunity to really do this restoration and have spaces where folks can walk and learn about the land is a really great opportunity. And so just speaking on, behalf of some residents here and folks that have been engaged in the process, and hoping that you approve the support to continue, really moving forward this stream of Salinas residents and its surrounding communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions of the board? Please. Amen.
Thank you. Amazing project. I'm so excited about it, just hearing about it. Just really quick on the CEQA documentation. I think the NOD might be the wrong one in the packet. Looks like it's for a different project. Just want to make sure the right NOD is somewhere.
Kurt? Hold on. We never make mistakes, so I don't think that's possible. Let's see. Sorry about that.
We do have it available. Whether or not it's in your paperwork in your meeting agenda packet. I could get that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're looking at. City of Salinas prepared a mitigated neg deck. Oh, maybe something in the board, maybe in the board.
Yeah, the board package.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, we'll make sure that the record is right.
Okay,
Maybe there's
great.
something got transferred. Our numbers changed between our draft and final, so it's possible. So sorry about that. But yeah, we have the right stuff on file. Whoops. Okay, we'll fix that.
Thank you for raising that. Any other questions? Comments from the board?
I just want to say there's a certain satisfaction in seeing that the planning grant was given in 2021 and already it's coming back in a relatively rapid fashion to start doing the restoration. So I appreciate that.
Chair Bogby, if I may, I think there's a couple of raised hands.
Oh, yeah. Are they public comment or? Yeah.
We're not there yet.
So we'll absolutely make time for public comment. Yeah. I just want to say, before we open up for public comment, just the incredible work that the Land Trust has done and really also being, I think, very open and thinking about what authentic community engagement and outreach is for these projects. And I love projects that have the word park in them too. So just, really exciting to just hear about the investment in community engagement and how community has really shaped the project and outcomes. So with that, will any public comments from the room for item number 26? Okay, we'll go to online. How many hands raised do we have?
We have 2 raised hands. Joel, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. So my name is Joel Hernandez Laguna. I have the pleasure of serving on the Board of Trustees for the Big Sur Land Trust. Prior to being a board member, I want to speak in support of the Card Lake development, restoration and park development. So in 2018, when I was the lead organizer for a local nonprofit in the Salinas area, my first task was to engage residents in the development. And we did this through door-to-door conversations in the surrounding neighborhoods about educating and informing residents about the development. We held several one-on-one conversations, town hall meetings, surveys, and a lot of tours of the area. And so I think that was one of the things that really brought this energy and momentum to Salinas. It's how do we restore and how do we bring nature back to the heart of our city? And so it was very important to engage people in those stages. I'll share a story. When I first started engaging neighborhoods around, I found this couple that was walking around their parking lot. And after several times seeing them walking around the parking lot, I asked them, I just want to introduce myself, but I'm here to talk to you about this future development. But I'm just curious, why are you walking around the parking lot? And they said, they're the only streets that we have available to walk are super high traffic areas. And, my physician just diagnosed me with pre-diabetes and I have to walk a minimum of 30 minutes a day. And it really helps me. And so you'll see that this development is proposing 1.7 1.7 miles of trails. And it's really going to change the opportunity that families have. And these families were part of the design, the implementation, the advocacy, and really supporting this development. So it's been a true effort of community engagement. And then the last thing that I'll say is I work for a local community foundation, and we often have conversations about this development and support for these efforts. And another hat that I wear is I serve as the vice president of a board of a local healthcare system. So we're really looking for ways to engage physicians in the upcoming months about how do we inform residents about these opportunities for that really improve mental health and well-being. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Next speaker. Do we have our next speaker? Can we start at 2 minutes? Yeah.
Genesis, you can unmute yourself.
There you go. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Thank you for giving me the option. So my name is Genesis Mojica. I'm the lead organizer for the Center for Community Advocacy. CCA's part in this project was to, as a advocacy group for farm workers and low-income families, it was to bring these families and community to kind of see this project, be a part of it, and have a connection with the city to be able to truly understand the project and its impact. It has been truly inspiring and joyful to see the newfound passions of residents engaging in the park, even before it's even open. By newfound passions, I mean by the new interest and getting the opportunity to engage in something like this. It's something so new and so big for this city, and opportunities like this are very limited in Salinas. But to be able to also have the opportunity to be educated and informed about what restoration is and how to come about it, while also learning its rich history. I truly believe in funders, and any funders and donations made to the Ensign Park project will be investing in long-lasting opportunities into the heart of Salinas. This hardworking community, while also exposing the younger and older generations to a new lifestyle of living, will help many people now and the futures to come. So I truly do support anything done to help support this project as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have any more raised hands?
There are no more raised hands.
Any additional discussion from the board or questions? Okay, seeing none, I will, okay. I'll take a motion on item 26.
I'll move approval of item 26.
Great. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Wonderful. Mary, can you take the roll call, please?
Chair Bogday,
Aye.
Vice Chair Bonham.
Aye.
Member Nagami,
Aye.
Member Pavle,
Aye.
Member Peralt, Member Phillips.
Aye.
Member Murray.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Congratulations. All right, moving on to item number 27.
I bring back Amy Henderson, Queen of the Desert, to talk about enhancing biodiversity and resilience in the Amargosa Basin.
Proposal is to consider the allocation for a planning grant to the American Bird Conservancy for 3 actions: a hydrological monitoring study and preparation of 2 restoration plans, one for the Amargosa River and Willow Creek and the other for the endangered Amargosa vole. The project will take place in the Amargosa Basin between Death Valley Junction and Tecopa. Next slide, please. So the first action allows for the continuation of data collection through hydrological monitoring. This data will allow researchers, land managers, and the public to more effectively detect and predict changes in groundwater levels resulting from increased development pressure in the watershed and from climate change. As a result of this action, federal and state agencies, landowners, and local partners will be better able to identify and pursue collaborative opportunities for ongoing habitat enhancement and species recovery aligned with a clearer understanding of how groundwater moves through this complex hydrological system. Next slide, please. Action 2 is the preparation of a shovel-ready habitat restoration plan for approximately 975 acres of riparian habitat along the Amargosa River and Willow Creek. This plan will address the necessary steps to restore degraded areas along the Amargosa River and Willow Creek with the goal of increasing habitat for nesting and migratory songbirds. One reason this restoration plan is necessary is the disparate habitat restoration efforts led by private landowners, the Nature Conservancy, BLM, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and CDFW. An example of this issue is with tamarisk, a non-native, which has been providing nesting habitat for a wide variety of sensitive bird species. However, the northern tamarisk beetle arrived in the Amargosa Basin and spread throughout the project area. The beetle defoliates the tamarisk, thus diminishing habitat quality for nesting songbirds. This decrease in nesting habitat has resulted in a decline in nesting birds and increased local momentum for removal of tamarisk. This restoration plan will coalesce these various efforts so that restoration can be accomplished in a more meaningful and beneficial way. Next slide, please. The final action is the preparation of a habitat restoration plan to create what is being termed a mega marsh for the endangered Amargosa vole. The vole persists by migrating among nearby marshes, but with water loss, habitat removal, loss of connectivity, disease, genetic isolation, and invasive species, the threat of extinction has increased. This planning effort will analyze opportunities and constraints to choose a final mega marsh site among 4 alternatives, with the future goal of restoring bulrush habitat that will help stabilize both the population dynamics of the Amargosa vole and its habitat, as well as other local threatened and endangered marsh-dependent species. The larger patches of marsh habitat will ultimately act as a source population of voles to other nearby smaller marshes. Next slide, please. Staff recommends that the Wildlife Conservation Board approve the project as proposed. We have several team members present today to answer any questions, including Chris McCready, Southwest Riparian Bird Recovery Coordinator for the American Bird Conservancy, Mason Vale, Executive Director of the Amargosa Conservancy, Dr. Janet Foley, Professor, School of Veterinary Medicine at UC Davis, Andy Zahn, Technical Director of RU Incorporated, and Mike Davis, Senior Restoration Ecologist at River Partners. Anyone have any questions?
Thank you. Do any of our guests want to make any comments to the board?
Hi, Mason Vale, Amargosa Conservancy. Just want to first thank staff and the board for this amazing opportunity. I mean, it's really cool to sit through meetings like today and just kind of take in the embarrassment of riches that you here in California have in terms of just landscape diversity. We certainly count the deserts among those riches, and the Amargosa is, clearly a crown jewel of our California deserts. So we just appreciate this opportunity to bring these projects before you. They really will set the stage for the next chapter of collaborative conservation and adaptive management in this ridiculously important biodiversity hotspot that we have here in California. And I just want to extend a personal invitation to the whole board to come out if you haven't already to experience the Amargosa. This is the perfect time of year to do it. I promise you it will be an unforgettable destination. So thank you for this opportunity.
Are there any questions, comments from the board, Catherine, and then Damon?
I actually just this last week drove through the southern part, so I know what you mean. It's a beautiful time to go there. I'm wondering if you can explain again on the tamarisk. The tamarisk is dying naturally or being affected naturally by the tamarisk beetle. So you're going to be the applicants will be taking advantage of that to get rid of the tamarisk.
And then replace it with natives.
Replace it with
So
natives.
it's a non-native.
Yeah,
it's
right,
highly
exactly.
invasive in the
Yeah,
desert, and
yeah.
so
I
Right
think-
now, the birds were utilizing it.
Yeah.
But then the beetle showed up and defoliated it. And so there were all these different entities doing different things and it wasn't coalescing. So
I see.
So the plan is to have an actual plan for everyone to use so that it's more efficient and meaningful. And so
And you'll get the foliage in a more rapid way to accommodate the birds.
Right. And
Okay,
it'll be
got it.
native, not non-native.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for the presentation. Sounds like a really worthy project. I understand this is a planning grant. To go, can you explain a little bit? So going from desert habitat to a mega marsh sounds pretty intensive. So how long is that going to take? What kind of resources are we looking at in terms of like construction and implementation, just to give us a taste of sort of resources and timing?
Sure. I'm Janet Foley. I'm at University of California, Davis, and I've been a founding member of the ad hoc Amargosa Bowl team, which advises to the federal agencies and state agencies managing the species. And it is one of the species with the smallest population sizes in the world. Our species is in the hundreds. It is an endemic in the Mojave and is really only present in Tecopa and Shoshone. And I want to underscore how important it is the work that we're doing collaboratively, because everything we might do with the bowl might also have impacts on birds, or it might have impacts on endangered fish. So this project is really exciting because it brings together botanists, bird biologists, et cetera. As a part of the bowl team, we've looked at disease, genetic surveys, lots and lots of population monitoring, lots of habitat monitoring. We've also done modeling, spatial modeling, that brings into consideration the depauperate genetic status of the species, and this collapsing metapopulation. It used to be there were lots of small habitat marsh fragments that the voles could move among. Those are largely gone to the south, and it's partly due to the hydrological concerns, which are being addressed in this project. However, there is one large source population, it's Marsh 1, and we've studied this for 15 years. And it's, when I say large, it's 1 or 2 acres large. So it's not giant. So mega marsh shouldn't scare you. It's another patch about that size, centrally located, that would be a sustainable wetlands, wonderful habitat for multiple species, that would allow a core population, subpopulation of voles to reproduce, to live, to reside within that marsh and keep moving among the other marshes. So it really just restores the original metapopulation in the northern part of the extant range. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it's super helpful. What about the timing and resources part of that?
So we've already been with BLM funding undertaking some planning. And so we've been working on that for 3 years. We have looked at multiple sites and actually come up with together really only one suitable site, in that it's central and has dependable water. Water comes up in springs out of the Tecopa Hills. And the BLM funding got us to a very preliminary conceptual design of a mega marsh at site 10. So we're ready to go. We will be fully, with WCB funding associated with this project, we will be shovel ready at the end of this funding period.
Thank you. So once you are shovel ready, how much in terms of time and resources will you need then to complete the project?
You're asking me these really exciting questions. So if you're in this site, Tecopa Hills are to the east, and a whole bunch of springs come up in Tecopa Hills. Some of them have dried up. There are 3 that are pretty sustainable, one of which goes down out of Marsh 7, which is owned by CDFW. It was actually acquired by CDFW in part to protect the Amargosa Bowl. And then the water comes out of Marsh 7 under the road and into Marsh 10. Marsh 10 is super underdeveloped in a natural way. The water goes down into the ground, it experiences evapotranspiration. It doesn't really support vole habitat, but it's still there, and it's always there, perennially there. So really what we need to do, and this is a little bit outside my expertise as a small mammal biologist, really what we need to do is a moderate amount of earthwork in order to sort of keep the water there in this mega marsh footprint. But we'd also need to do the monitoring of the voles, know which voles are nearby. We've seen voles go across open desert playa, so we know that they will. So it's the component of doing the animal work, but also, I can't tell you yet because I don't know what we're gonna have in terms of a final conceptual design in 3 years. But I will tell you that another partner of ours who owns private property just north of Tacopa is Shoshone Village. And Shoshone Village the town of Shoshone is where the Amargosa vole was first discovered in the late 1890s. And it went extinct, fully extinct in Shoshone. It was thought to be extinct until it was rediscovered in Tacopa. And the Shoshone Village has undertaken restoration around the Shoshone Spring, including, since it's private land, they were able to do this. But it's included some earth moving, some flattening, putting out irrigation. And within, I would say, 3 years of them undertaking that restoration, my team translocated Tacopa voles into Shoshone, and we've recreated a small extant subpopulation in its ancestral home. So we know that we can do that. And I would say, to answer your question more briefly, in terms of how long once we are shovel ready, I'm sure we would have the earthwork and the hydrology done within 2 to 3 years. I would expect voles would come on their own.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board on this project? Okay, so we'll move to public comment. Any public comment in the room on item number 27? Okay, seeing none, do we have any raised hands online for this item?
There are no raised hands. Oh, wait, there's one.
All right, go ahead.
Hello, board directors. My name is Russell Black. I'm an environmental program manager with California Fish and Wildlife. I just wanted to share that this project is incredibly important to Region 6 and the department's wildlife branch. We've been a partner of this project, Amargosa Vole Work, working with Shoshone Village, its partners, for the benefit of all the species in the Amargosa Basin. And this proposal before you today is after about 1 to 2 years of project planning within Region 6 when the partners proposed it to us. And I just wanted to voice, from the department's regional perspective, this is fully supported from the department, and to thank all of your time today. Thank you. That was it.
Great. Thank you for your comment. Any additional questions, comments from the board? Okay. If not, I'll take a motion on item 27.
So move.
A second.
All right, can you take the roll call, please?
Chair Boakday,
Aye.
Vice Chair Bonham,
Aye.
Member Nagami,
Aye.
Member Pavlik,
Aye.
Member Peralt, Member Phillips,
Aye.
Member Murray.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Great. Thank you. Congratulations. I know we're clapping today. So item 28 was removed?
Correct.
Okay, so item 28 was removed from the agenda. We are now moving on to item 29.
Invite David Dodds back up to talk about Coyote Valley Landscape Linkage Expansion 1. There he is. Hello, sir.
Good afternoon. The Coyote Valley Landscape Linkages Expansion 1 property is a assemblage of 3 properties totaling 142 acres located on the west side of Santa Teresa Boulevard between Bailey and Palm Avenue in the Coyote Valley, an unincorporated portion of the Santa Clara County between the cities of San Jose and Morgan Hill. The properties were acquired by the current owner over time since 2017. The properties are located in the central portion of Coyote Valley and is part of a wildlife corridor that allows animals to pass through the valley floor and foothills between the Santa Cruz Mountains and the Diablo Range. Coyote Valley is a unique opportunity to connect the biodiversity of those mountain ranges. The Santa Clara Valley Habitat Conservation Plan, Natural Community Conservation Plan, states that linking the mountain ranges via Santa Clara Valley is one of the main landscape level goals to ensure long-term protection of wildlife and rare and endangered species. Property is located south of the original Coyote Valley landscape linkage Sobrato South property purchased with the support of a $10 million WCB grant in 2020. Tilton Ranch, purchased with the WCB grant in 2019, is located to the southwest. The Coyote Ridge property, located to the eastern ridgeline, was acquired with a $2.7 million grant in 2015. Numerous other conserved properties within the region surround the property. Next slide, please. The subject property is situated along Fisher Creek Corridor, which stretches approximately 1.5 miles from Bailey Avenue to Tilton Ranch, near the northern limits of Morgan Hill. Fisher Creek is a significant wildlife corridor that connects the Santa Cruz Mountains to the west, to the valley floor, and then to the Diablo Range to the east. The project area includes diverse habitats interspersed amongst agricultural fields. These habitats include seasonal wetlands, valley freshwater marsh, mixed riparian forest, and woodland habitats pictured here. Land use trends in the past century have caused substantial habitat loss in favor of agriculture and planned development. The combination of Laguna Seca, Fisher Creek, and the surrounding agricultural fields and grasslands provides outstanding potential to restore and enhance existing ecological benefits. Next slide, please. Fisher Creek provides water resources for migratory mammals while also supporting native riparian vegetation such as cottonwoods, willows, box elders, buckeye, and sycamore. Vegetation that is critical for nesting birds such as yellow warbler and yellow-breasted chat. The Fisher Creek floodplain may have historically supported fish such as the Sacramento sucker and hitch, which will be considered for reintroduction with restoration and removal of invasive species. Wildlife will benefit from a series of small restoration projects along Fisher Creek, such as establishment of new ponds and swales to allow for increased resource access and protected cover during migration across the valley. Restoration of the project area would enhance wildlife connectivity for a number of high-profile species, including coyote, mountain lion, bobcat, badger, and golden eagle. A functioning landscape linkage will support species dispersal and prevent genetic isolation in the surrounding mountains. Next slide, please. The authority's Coyote Valley Conservation Area includes the Laguna Seca, the county's largest freshwater wetland. Fisher Creek, a highly channelized stream that flows into Laguna Seca, and Coyote Creek. These areas provide a floodplain to provide a nature-based solution to slow and disperse floodwaters during high water events. The photograph here was in 2023 winter flooding. Next slide, please. The authority has begun to implement small-scale restoration projects along Fisher Creek with the consent of the current owner. The authority has removed invasive species and planted native plants along 3,100 feet of riparian area along Fisher Creek to establish consistent woody tree and shrub diversity. These projects have been done with the support of Point Blue's Straw program, bringing children onto the property to experience what ecological restoration looks like. The Department of General Services approved fair market value of the property is $8.3 million, and the landowner has agreed to sell at a purchase price of $5.1 million, a $3.2 million bargain sale. The authority will contribute an additional $100,000 to the purchase of these properties. Staff recommends proceeding as proposed. With us today are Megan Dreger and Linda Kwong from the Santa Clara Valley Space Open Authority. Megan will say a few words and then we will all be available to answer your questions. And Megan has the last slide, please. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. Good afternoon. I want to thank you for your consideration of the project today, as well as for the board's investment and engagement of this landscape over the past decade or more. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. This map shows Coyote Valley, much broader view. This is the roughly 1,500 acre conservation area that the authority is working with our partners at Peninsula Open Space Trust to protect and restore. The parcels discussed today are in an orange hatch there in the middle of the slide. Coyote Valley is the most narrow and undeveloped space between the Santa Cruz Mountains and the Diablo Range, and it's the critical linkage for wildlife movement and species adaptation to climate change because it protects more than 1 million acres of core habitat. It connects more than 1 million acres of core habitat. The state legislature recognized this importance and declared Coyote Valley a resource of statewide significance back in 2019. Coyote Valley, we've been very focused on this and happy to report it's been a conservation success. Just over 10 years ago, this area was slated for development and would have been largely, the northern Coyote Valley would have been largely paved over and become a tech campus or a series of campuses with more than 15 million square feet of office space. In 2019, the Open Space Authority with our partners at Peninsula Open Space Trust and the City of San Jose, we partnered on a landmark series of acquisitions in the north part of Coyote Valley, nearly 1,000 acres, and that really got the ball rolling. Just last week, the Open Space Authority acquired the parcels highlighted in yellow on the right side of the map there, and that was funded with $16 million in funding from the Resources Agency and state parks. Overall, more than $130 million in public and private funds have gone into protecting Coyote Valley, this valley floor. Building on that success, the authority is working to acquire the titles to the remaining parcels along Fisher Creek that we're talking about today in order to implement a large-scale wetland and riparian habitat restoration project. Once the lands have been acquired, the next phase of work will be guided by the Coyote Valley Conservation Area's Master Plan, or CV Camp, which is already underway. This is a science-based and community-informed plan focused on the future restoration and use of Coyote Valley. There are about 2 million people who live nearby Coyote Valley, and CV Camp has had an extensive public engagement component with funding support from the State Coastal Conservancy grant that we're appreciative of. So we're very excited about the future of Coyote Valley, and we want to thank you for your consideration of funding for this remarkable landscape.
Thank you. Are there any questions, comments from the board? Okay. So from there, we'll see none. Any comments from the public here in our room on item number 29? Do we have any hands raised?
There are no raised hands.
Okay. All right. Seeing no further questions or discussion from the board, I'll entertain a motion for item number 29.
I'll move approval of file item 29.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Great. Why don't we take the roll call, please?
Chair Boakday,
Aye.
Vice Chair Bonham.
Aye.
Member Nagami,
Aye.
Member Pavley. Aye. Member Peralt, Member Phillips,
Aye.
Member Murray.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Wonderful. Congratulations. Yay. Okay, moving on to item number 30.
This item is Hoover Ranch, presented by Brian Gibson. Hello, Brian.
Thank you, Jen. So Hoover Ranch is located on the north side of Bethel Island within the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta in Contra Costa County. Bethel Island is an approximately 3,500 acre diked subsided island and one of the very few Delta islands that has an established residential and commercial community with the current population of approximately 2,000 residents. To the north of Hoover Ranch is Piper Slough and Frank's Tract State Recreational Area. To the east, south, and west, it's mostly pasture lands. A portion of the property is currently used for row crop and alfalfa production. Next slide, please. So the majority of the property is fallow, supporting a variety of grassland and shrub growth. The property is fairly level with elevated levee construction along the north and a portion of the west boundaries. A mounded area in the western half of the property rises to about 20 feet above sea level and supports a single family residence and several associated agricultural outbuildings. So this photo here is indicative of the majority of the property, grassland with some riparian woodlands in the background. Next slide, please. The property includes approximately 2 miles of levee frontage along Piper and Taylor sloughs. Dense riparian vegetation characteristic of a wetland environment is found in the northern and northeastern areas of the property, as well as along many of the irrigation ditches that are located across the property. This photo here is a levee road along the property on the north side. Next slide, please. The conversion of marshlands into agriculture has created subsidence that threatens the existence of Delta Islands, including Bethel Island. Equally threatening to the health and well-being of Bethel Island and California residents are carbon emissions created by agricultural conversion in the Delta. The peat soil in the Delta is rich in organic carbon that was stored by plants thousands of years ago. When the soil is drained for agriculture, it becomes oxygen-rich, which speeds up the process of microbes breaking down the organic material in the soil. This process releases carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas, into the atmosphere. Acquisition of Hoover Ranch will be the first phase of a multi-phase project to permanently protect and steward the property and create a nature-based solution to subsidence and greenhouse gas emissions, as well as to enhance biodiversity on the property. Next slide, please. After acquiring and permanently protecting Hoover Ranch, John Muir Land Trust will plan, design, and implement managed wetlands and riparian woodlands to ensure climate resilience, biodiversity, and safe public access that protects the habitat and the levees bordering the property. And in the audience is Linus Eckel. He's the Executive Director of John Muir Land Trust. And Lisa Lomba, she's the Chief Advancement Officer with John Muir Land Trust. And Linus would like to say a few words, please.
Thank you. Welcome.
Chair Bodke, members of the board, and Dr. Norris, thanks for your consideration of this project. We expect it's going to make a real difference over time. And again, with gratitude to staff. And just to say, this has been one of the all-time best board meetings I've been to in a long time. Just so many wonderful projects. And just the inspiration of that to be considered amongst them and really rising to the level of spiritual formation. So we really appreciate being included in that way. And we would certainly make the most of this to bring that effort forward. We're also very grateful to the Delta Conservancy, who is a good partner in this, as well as the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation, and again to staff and Brian, and seeing us through some very difficult times with respect to California state funding and some of the undulations of that. So I'm really happy to be here today, and certainly to answer any questions. And also grateful to our staff, Lisa Lomba, and our board of directors for their support in this effort.
Great, thank you. Any questions, comments from the board on this item? I just want to say I appreciate that part of the project is providing public access for the community. So just want to kind of lift that up. So
It's a beautiful spot. Take a walk.
yeah, I can tell from the photos. So wonderful. Are there any comments, public comments in the room on item 30?
May I just make a comment?
Yes,
I
please.
know it's out of order, but Brian said it, but I want to highlight, the Delta Conservancy has been really looking for opportunities to sort of reverse the problem of subsidence and loss of soil in the Delta, which really is a major contributor to greenhouse gas emissions in the state. And so this project, I hope, is one of many that we'll try to be involved in, that's sort of one of these multi-benefit opportunities to advance conservation, provide access, but really, I think make a dent in our emissions as a state. So I just want to make sure you all heard that part. Brian's a little understated, but I want to lift that piece up as well. So thanks.
I think the funding source of the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund kind of speaks to the impact of this project. So, yeah, which is great. Do we have any?
I had
Oh, please.
appreciated those comments as well and cited them. But that was part of the purpose of the GGRF funds, to make sure people realize the multiple benefits of reducing emissions, because greater climate impacts to the state, and also for adaptation purposes. So I appreciate you actually spelling that out in your presentation.
Great, thank you. Are there any public comments online? Any raised hands?
There is one raised hand. Campbell, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to you today. I just wanted to build a little bit on Director Norris's comments. We at the Delta Conservancy very much appreciate the partnership with the John Muir Foundation, WCB, and the Moore Foundation to consider this project. I think as commenters have already recognized, peat soils when drained for agriculture are recognized globally as inordinately large producers of CO2 emissions. And I think it's important to recognize that this project, when it's restored, will prevent approximately 4,200 tons of CO2 emissions from volatilizing into the atmosphere per year. This is one of 4 projects that we have funded with our nature-based funding, or nature-based solutions funding, that in aggregate will result in over 110,000 tons of avoided carbon emissions from peat soils in the Delta, across wetting about 11,000 acres over the next several years. I think most importantly, this project contributes to large-scale demonstration of how we can manage these subsided Delta islands in a way that's both economically viable and climate resilient into the future, and help us meet the state's recently established nature-based solution target of re-wetting 50,000 acres of peat soil in the Delta between now and 2045. So just thank you so much again for considering this project. We look forward to working with WCB and other partners in the future to realize more of these projects that can stop these emissions and reduce the threat of subsidence. Thanks again.
Great, thank you very much. Any additional questions, comments from the board? Okay, with that, I'll take a motion on item 30.
I'll move.
Second. Great. The first and a second, can you take a roll call, please?
Chair Boakday,
Aye.
Vice Chair Bonham. Member Nagami,
Aye.
Member Pavle,
Aye.
Member Perot, Member Phillips,
Aye.
Member Murray.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Great, thank you, congratulations.
All right. All right, next up, Jen Stanfield to talk about the McCollum Forest Health Enhancement Project. She has to say McCollum 4 times fast before she starts. We were debating how to say it, and I will share that Celeste told us that it might be Mokolumne in native language. There's a debate at WCB. You're all welcome to weigh in. Anyway, sorry, Jen.
So this is all going to go perfectly. My family has not at all been listening to me practice this at all. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. This is a proposal to consider the allocation of a grant to the Upper McCollum River Watershed Authority to conduct planning on 247,000 acres and implementation on 866 acres in multiple counties near Kirkwood. Next slide, please. The project takes place on U.S. Forest Service land in the upper reaches of the McCollum River watershed. The topography is rugged and varies in elevation from 600 to more than 10,000 feet. The region's abundant forests, meadows, and rivers provide habitat for thousands of plant and animal species, including many listed as threatened or endangered. The watershed provides drinking water to 3 Sierran counties and over 1 million San Francisco Bay Area residents. Forest conditions pictured here are typical for the area. There's dense growth, standing dead trees, and fairly contiguous arrangements of surface and ladder fuels, which increase the ability of fire and pests to move through the forest. Next slide, please. Recent wildfires have shaped land management in the watershed. The inset map shows wildfire perimeters near the project area, with the 2021 Caldor Fire to the north and many smaller fires to the south. The implementation activities funded by the grant are shown in the larger map in purple. These treatment areas were identified in a planning effort designed to enable near-term implementation of priority actions in the face of a growing wildfire threat. Next slide, please. The project will enable fuels reduction treatments comprised primarily of thinning and mastication and targeting shrubs and small diameter trees. The treatment units have been selected specifically for the high concentration of aspen, which functions as a biodiversity hotspot within coniferous forests. Aspens are shade intolerant and rely primarily upon disturbance for propagation and stand renewal. The Watershed Authority will partner with the Washoe Tribe of Nevada and California by dedicating 10 acres of aspen stand treatment to be performed by the tribe's workforce development forestry crew. This supports capacity building while also facilitating tribal stewardship of their ancestral lands. Next slide, please. The project includes a funding contribution to the McCallamy-Amador-Calaveras Forest Resilience NEPA study, shown on the map in purple and dubbed MAC-NEPA planning for short. This environmental compliance effort builds upon prior existing NEPA studies by contemplating more complex treatments on a larger scale, spanning 5 counties and 2 national forests. Next slide. The project will allow for circulation public review of the environmental impact statement. MAC-NEPA planning addresses the need for a landscape scale forest health plan, and once complete, this NEPA document will augment the suite of available treatment options for future implementation. Next slide, please. And I will wrap up by showing a pre and post treatment example here. The left photo is a unit included in the project under consideration, and the right is a nearby unit treated this year utilizing the same prescription. The project will increase the pace and scale of stewardship by working in partnership with the U.S. Forest Service and the Washoe Tribe. The treatments included will leverage adjacent fuels reduction, such as the work pictured here, and increase forest resilience by promoting heterogeneous stand structure at the landscape scale, while targeting declining aspen for enhancement. The project will modulate fire intensity, increase aspen stand vigor, and protect water quality in the Upper McCallamy watershed. Staff recommends the project as proposed, and here with us in person to answer questions are Karen and John Kiddiche, as well as Richard Sykes from the Watershed Authority.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Do any of our guests want to make any comments to the board? No? Okay. All right. Are there any questions, comments from the board on this item?
The masticated material that just stays on site.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Just a question on the Washoe Tribe of Nevada and California Workforce Development Crews. Are these like conservation corps? Youth, can you speak to
I'm going to invite Richard.
what the kind of workforce development component is?
Part of the project area is in the historical Washoe tribal areas, and they have been involved in this project since we first talked to them about it. And they asked for the opportunity to train crews, this is their environmental department, to maybe develop this ability more broadly. And so this is the first opportunity. We're pretty excited to work with them. They're based obviously in Gardnerville, but they've been working with on and off a little bit with UMRA through CHIPS, which is a sister organization in our area, which is the Calaveras Healthy Impacts Product Solutions, and which tried to employ Washoe tribal crews in their work. So does that answer your question? Yeah, we're already talking about the next opportunity. So we're going to build on success. They would really, the tribes that are in our tribal engagement plan are very interested in the implementation, and this tribe and one other in particular on aspen regeneration. Thank you.
Just realized I didn't have my mic on. Sorry.
You project though. It's good.
Okay, good. Are there any members here in the room public members that would like to make a public comment on this item 31? All right, seeing none, do we have any hands that are raised for online public comment?
There are no raised hands.
Okay. Thank you. Seeing no further questions or comments from the board, I'll take a motion on item 31.
I move we approve the project as proposed.
Second.
Great. First and second, can you take a roll call, please?
Chair Bookday,
Aye.
Vice Chair Bonham,
Aye.
Member Nagami,
Aye.
Member Pavle,
Aye.
Member Peralt, Member Phillips,
Aye.
Member Murray.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Wonderful. Congratulations. Thank you. Yay. All right. Okay, item number 32.
All right, next up is Keyser Ranch with Celeste Reisner. Reisner, I can never say that. Keyser, Kaiser, Razor, Reisner.
I know, I want to say Kaiser, but I'm watching myself. So this proposal is to consider the allocation for a grant to Sonoma Land Trust for the acquisition of 1,459 acre hay farm known as Keyser Ranch, which is located approximately 5 miles northwest of Sonoma. Next slide.
Go a little closer. Yeah.
I'm loud. The property is in the lower Sonoma watershed. So it's Sonoma Creek watershed, and is in the center of a network of already protected lands. This acquisition is essential for the reestablishment of tidal flow and habitat connectivity between Keyser and adjacent properties. The design on the right is their preferred alternative. So on the left, you see Kaiser Ranch in the middle of the different properties. And on the right, you can see that Keyser is actually referred to as Camp 3. And it shows the flow that they want to have that will connect all the channel and the properties. Next slide. This project will permanently protect Keyser Ranch for restoration of historic tidal marshes in advance of sea level rise. Restoration of the property will add to the growing complex of protected lands in the San Pablo Bay region and contribute to the California nature-based solutions for climate targets and 30 by 30 goals. Next slide. The property currently consists of grasslands and hayfields that are organically farmed for annual production of oat hay. The hayfields on the property are remarkably level and well drained compared to other agricultural lands in the area. As a result, wetlands only occur on the property in the drainage ditches and China Slough. Once the property is restored, most of the property will consist of tidal wetlands. Next slide. Sonoma Land Trust anticipates keeping the land in agricultural use for approximately 5 years during the planning period for restoration, with the long-term goal of transferring the property into the San Pablo Bay National Wildlife Refuge. Public access and recreational opportunities will be provided as a part of the refuge's long-term management plan. This project will allow the property and adjacent protected lands to be fully restored as connected wetlands. Here in attendance is John McCall from Sonoma Land Trust, who would like to say a few things on the property. And after, we can address any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Sounds great. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair and members. John McCall. I'm the Acquisition Director for Sonoma Land Trust. This property is the last major parcel we need to start restoration work in the whole Sonoma Creek Baylands. Director Bonham, Director Norris have been out there looking out over this landscape, and we're through another grant that you all approved a year ago. We're in restoration planning phase 1 for 6,000 acres. It includes Keyser Ranch. So the acquisition today allows us, it's in the heart of the whole watershed. So by getting this parcel under conservation ownership, not only can we plan, but we can start doing seasonal habitat improvements. And of course, the long range goal. This is the second largest tidal marsh restoration project in the Bay Area, other than the South Bay Salt Pond. So I just want to say one more thing, which is WCB is so much more of a funder here. You've supported our work for decades in the Baylands and the San Pablo Baylands and Sonoma Creek. And we're adjacent to Cal Fish and Wildlife lands, so you're way more than funding partners, you're thought partners and leaders in this whole effort. So thank you so much. Happy to answer questions.
And I want to add just a little tiny piece of context, because if you're from Southern California, looking at you two, you might not know this area the way some of us do, but all of this was diked. This is like North Bay diked lands that are cut off from their tidal influence by Highway 37, which Chuck and I are going to try to raise someday. So someday we're going to see tidal waters flowing under that road and into this vast landscape. How many acres?
10,000.
10,000 acres of restored tidal marsh, and we're on the road to that. So I think I'm really excited to see this get done. So I just wanted to provide that context for you all. It's a place that really needs our love. So I'm excited we're almost there.
Thank you.
I'm just curious about Sonoma Land Trust will continue farming the property. What does that mean? I mean,
Well, we purchased several, as Director Norris was saying, these have all been organically hay farmed, similar landscape to the Sacramento San Joaquin Delta subsided diked farmlands. This property, we need some time to transition into breaching levees, bringing water onto the property. So it's too big. It's 1,500 acres to let it sit there for a couple of years without active farming. It's as farming goes, it's low impact, it's dry farmed, it's organic. So it's an interim strategy just to take care of the land.
okay.
Great. Any additional questions, comments from the board? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll open it up for public comment. Any public comment in the room on item 32? Keizer Ranch, right? Keizer. Keizer, there we go. Keizer Ranch. Do we have any? Do we have any comments or raised hands for online public comment?
There are no raised hands.
Right. Okay, seeing no further questions from the board or comments, is there a motion on item 32, Keizer Ranch?
I'll move item number 32.
Great. Second?
Second.
Wonderful. Can you take the roll call, please?
Chair Bolte,
Aye.
Vice Chair Bonham,
Aye.
Member Nagami,
Aye.
Member Pavle,
Aye.
Member Peralt, Member Phillips,
Aye.
Member Murray.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Congratulations. All right, item number 34.
All right, Geneva, last
Or
but
sorry,
definitely not least.
33.
33, definitely not
Excuse me,
least.
Item 33, item 33.
Navarro Watershed Mill Creek Stream Flow Enhancement Project. Thanks, Geneva.
All righty, so I guess let's wrap this up and we'll do this last project.
No.
So this is Navarro Watershed Mill Creek Stream Flow Enhancement Project. It's located in Mendocino County. This grant will be allocating $2,749,000 to the Mendocino County Resource Conservation District. They'll be completing several stream flow enhancement projects on 3 privately owned lands in the Mill Creek subbasin of the Navarro watershed. To orient you to where the Navarro watershed is on this map, it's outlined in black. And then the Mill Creek subbasin is actually in the inset map, and it's that red area. And then the projects themselves are those purple dots, just to kind of get you oriented. Can I get a next slide? Alrighty, so to give you a little bit background about this area and these projects in general, this project is being put forth by the Navarro River Flow Enhancement Partnership, also known just as a partnership. And that's between Mendocino County Resource Conservation District, Trout Unlimited, and the Nature Conservancy. And they've been working in this area for quite a while, and we've actually funded several of their planning and implementation projects. So the big planning effort that we funded here is phases 1 through 3 of the Navarro River Stream Flow Enhancement Planning and Prioritization effort. And out of that, we have one implementation project that is currently ongoing, and that is looking at Flynn Creek, restoring Flynn Creek, and also doing a rainwater catchment system at Camp Navarro. And then the project that I'll be presenting to you today has also come out of that planning effort. Next slide. So why does this region need this? Historically, this region was host to Central California Coast Coho and Northern California Steelhead. And these populations still exist, but they're a lot lower than they were back in the day. This area is considered a high priority for recovery by multiple state and federal agencies, those being National Marine Fisheries Service, NOAA, and CDFW. And salmonids in this area are declining due to a couple different reasons. One of those being intensive agriculture. This area has a lot of vineyards, and they've also experienced drought. And to illustrate how bad the drought has been, in 2021, they actually had a recording of zero flow on the Navarro River, and the USGS gauge that recorded that has been going since 1950. The habitat in the area is also degraded, especially for these juvenile salmonids, such as that coho pictured at the bottom. They have deep channel incision, and this limits cover and forage area for juveniles. And degraded channels cannot support intense flooding, which leads to more erosion and high velocity flows, which again, these little babies cannot handle that. Next slide. So the RCD will be addressing these issues using a collection of time-tested methods, and they'll be completing 5 projects within the watershed. They'll be addressing a deeply incised channel, which is actually in photo 1. That's on Little Mill Creek. And they will be adding rock and log grade control structures to combat further erosion, aggregate soil, and prevent large flushes and loss of water during high flows and floods. And then they'll also be placing large woody structures at Mill Creek, which is in photo 2. And that will be to create juvenile salmonid habitat refugia and foraging area. You'll see in photo 3 that this area is actually going to be getting a 2,400 square foot infiltration basin that will promote slowing and spreading water as it rushes downhill during heavy rains. And that'll be increasing the groundwater storage. And then that area will also be planted with native rushes, sedges, and wildflowers. They'll be adding a 63,000 gallon storage tank to increase off-stream storage for one of the landowners, and having that landowner complete a 20-year forbearance agreement to prevent the landowner from drawing from their well during the dry season. And that new storage tank is actually going to be tapped into an existing system that the landowner already has, and it has the ability to catch both rainwater and pull from their well during the wet season when there's more water in there. And then part of that existing system is in photo 4. And then last but not least, they'll be working on a pond release plan and retrofitting an existing pond. So that existing pond is in photo 5, and the retrofit is pretty simple. Basically, they just have to add a different kind of nozzle onto an already existing structure that this pond has to allow them to release it into a nearby creek. But the majority of the work is going to be going to making a really solid release plan that dictates the timing and the amounts of water that's flowing into that creek. And then to assess how well all these projects are doing, they're going to be monitoring individual project success. And they'll also be monitoring the response of the subbasin overall to the cumulative effects of all these projects. Can I get next slide? Okay, so this project is going to create much needed juvenile salmonid habitat and will increase stream flow and groundwater infiltration. Along the top, I have a couple of photos of previous Mendocino County RCD/partnership projects, just to kind of give you an idea of what these look like when they're implemented. So on that far left, we have a large woody debris project. And in the middle, we have an infiltration basin. And I wanted to note all those wildflowers that come up, which they will also be planting the infiltration basin that they're working on. And with this, with those wildflowers, and that just has the added benefit of attracting pollinators and increasing native plant diversity in the area. And then on that far right, we have a beautiful newly placed steel storage tank for rainwater. The expected benefits are the conservation of 63 gallons annually via the storage tank. They'll be increasing groundwater recharge via the infiltration basin by up to 0.1 acre feet in the immediate area, and then 2.5 in the adjacent riparian area. And then this project will also prepare to release from an existing 4-acre-foot pond during the dry season to supplement in-stream flow as needed. The project will also be helping to restore riparian habitat, combating channel erosion, and restoring 600 linear feet of channel. And overall, it's going to be building climate resiliency to flood and drought by slowing water, keeping it in stream, and ensuring groundwater is plentiful. Staff recommends that the board approve this project as proposed. With me in the audience to answer questions are Linda McElwee from Mendocino County RCD, Monty Schmidt from Nature Conservancy, and Mia Van Docto from Trout Unlimited. They are all on Zoom today because of the lovely rain that they're getting over there.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Do any of our partners or guests in this project want to say any comments to the board?
You guys can raise your hand if you would like to.
I have Linda. I'm gonna unmute you right now.
Okay. Go ahead, Linda.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Okay, great. I really want to just take a moment to thank you for the opportunity to express our gratitude on behalf of the Mendocino County RCD and the Navarro Flow Enhancement Partnership, as well as the Navarro Watershed Community in consideration of this project. We're thrilled to be bringing you some on-the-ground restoration projects that will result in improving the climate resiliency in the watershed, connecting and engaging our community members in active stewardship through some of the previous planning efforts that we've had, through including the collaborative water management planning process that has been developed through these previous planning phases and supported by the Wildlife Conservation Board. These strategies are so important, as Geneva so beautifully has expressed, for increasing water security in the community and enhancing in-stream habitat and stream flows for the listed salmonids here and other aquatic species. They also provide really valuable demonstration project as we try and develop a watershed literate community here and infiltrate groundwater strategies and groundwater to recharge the groundwater supplies that feed our coastal streams here and benefit really all the species in the watershed. So just want to say thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Okay.
We have Monty. I'm gonna unmute you.
Please go ahead.
Hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, board and staff, for the chance for us to bring this proposal to you. And I just want to add to the comments of from Linda of the importance of this project. And in addition to being able to advance projects that are restoring really important salmon and steelhead habitat, that we're doing these projects also that having water supply benefits for the community, and the fact that we can do these things together is what has generated so much support. But also, I want to highlight another facet of these projects is that while we're creating on-the-ground conservation benefit, we're also advancing the understanding of the use of these different tools to restore stream flow and provide ecological benefits and water supply benefits, and doing that in a way that we're intending to and do share our results and our information with other conservation groups and resource conservation districts throughout Northern California, because what we are doing here is something that we all can share and learn from and help us to achieve salmon population recovery throughout the North Coast, which is a key goal of ours, and is definitely part of the North Coast Salmon Project strategies to try to accelerate the pace and scale of restoration of coho habitat to help recover that population. So thank you so much for considering this grant.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions, comments from the board? Okay, we'll open it up to public comment. Anyone in the room would like to make any public comment on item 33? Do we have any raised hands online for public comment on this item?
We have one raised hand.
Okay.
It's for SVR. You can unmute yourself.
Please go ahead.
Hi, this is Valerie Stanley. I'm the Tribal Historic Preservation Officer for the Sherwood Valley Tribe. For this project, I just wanted to note down here under the priority metrics, tribal partnership, we have been contacted and are working with Trout Unlimited on one of these projects. What I want to say overall is we have requested monitoring, and why that is part of where the watershed is now isn't necessarily where it was naturally. So there could be some cultural resources involved. And then I know we had also asked for any re-vegging that we, the tribe, would like to help select the plants, the flowers that are going to be replanted in this area, because this particular area has heavily tribal uses, contemporary uses. And our concern is about the installing and constructing of the water. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. And do you want to?
Not quite sure what to say.
Following up.
I mean, we'll obviously follow up on this with our grantee and make sure that those concerns are taken into consideration. So thank you for raising them to us. Sorry we missed it earlier. We will remedy that.
Okay, thank you. Are there any additional comments, questions from the board? Seeing none, can I get a motion on item 33?
I'll move approval of file item 33.
Thank you. Great, we have first and a second. Can you take the roll call, please?
Chair Bolte,
Aye.
Vice Chair Bonham, Member Nagami,
Aye.
Member Pavle,
Aye.
Member Peralt, Member Phillips,
Aye.
Member Murray.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Great, thank you. So now we will move on to item number 34. This is a time to hear from the public on any items that are not on the agenda. So I will ask if there's any members here in the room from the public that would like to address the board, again, on any items that are not on the agenda. It's getting pretty slim here. I don't see anybody. Let's go to online. Are there any raised hands for this item?
There are no raised hands.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So we will now move into closed session with the board, and we'll return to adjourn. But thank you, everyone.
I have to just report, are we,
She hit record.
so we're on, okay. The board met in closed session to finalize the executive director's performance review.
Wonderful. Thank you. So we will now take a motion to adjourn our Wildlife Conservation Board meeting at 3:13 PM on Thursday, November 21st. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. And with this motion to adjourn, I want to thank Alina for your service as chair. Yeah, let's give it up. Let's give it up for Alina one last time.
Thank you. Thank you,
I
everyone.
make a motion to adjourn.
All right. And we have a second. So I think, can we just all say aye? We can all say aye. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.